ayan po. Pwede na po yan.
Pwede na yan. Oh. So, dapat bago ko mag-game,
Wala na? Adriel?
magdagdag na lang ako ng isang
Mas
slide
mamaya
before.
magloko dyan ako.
Sandali ha. Sandali. Para hindi makita agad. Okay.
Buti na lang na-receive naman pala nila.
Ang alin?
Yung ano ma'am, link.
So, pag ganyan, paano pag, ang gawin ko muna hindi muna ako pangalan nito, teka, stop share ko muna ha. Ang gawin ko muna, stop video ko muna. Tama? Paano ba yun, Tin? Para hindi makita yung game.
Ano, Adriel? Hindi ko alam din po.
Hello, ma'am. Suggestion po.
Oo.
Ma'am, kasi PowerPoint yung nakalalagay sa PowerPoint yung games, di ba? So automatic kita yung mga slides. Kung i-transfer po natin sa Word doc na per page yung question, at least nasa
Yung
ibaba
gagawin ko
yung
pa.
Ma'am, cut and paste.
Sino pwedeng gumawa? Habang,
Di ba, ma'am? Kasi para hindi kita yung slide sa...
ganito gagawin ko. Di ba mahaba naman ako? Isang oras. Pwede bang may ibang gumawa nun? Tin?
Ma'am Ox?
Oo. Pwede ikaw gumawa o si Adriel, yung sinasuggest ni Alvin?
Okay lang po. PDF na lang po. Tapos ipopost.
Ayun, pwede.
Sige.
Ano po yun?
So, paggawa na lang habang
Paano ba?
nag-talk ako.
Sige, ako na bahala.
So, 1.5 hours naman ako. Hi. Good morning, sir. Good
Saan
morning,
yun? Saan yung
everyone.
quiz na yun?
Good morning
Ay,
po.
ito, nakita ko na.
Nakita mo na, Adriel?
Yes po, yes po.
Yung
PowerPoint. Ita-download ko na lang muna. Tapos i-edit ko na
Nasa
one
bahay ka
page
ba?
per slide.
Oo. Nasa ano ka ba? Bahay?
Nasa office po.
Sa office po kami, Ma'am Oxy.
Magkasama po kami.
Okay na tayo?
Nag-echo pa rin.
Hindi na.
Nag-e-echo kayo. Nag-e-echo kayo.
Parang hindi na sa akin. Kasi magkasama ata tayo.
Si sir nasa bahay. Nasa bahay kayo? Nagko-coffee yata si sir.
Good morning,
Nag-breakfast
sir.
Good morning po.
Nagigising lang. Morning.
Morning po.
Nag-breakfast na ba kayo?
Hindi pa, ma'am. Di bali, maiksi lang naman yung sa akin. Hindi kagaya ninyo, 1.5 hours ko na.
Siguro, pag nakapasok na lahat, mag-photo op muna tayo after ng welcome remarks para kung may gagawin pa si sir.
May meeting po
Pwede.
ako ng 8:30, execom namin sa NIT. Sige po. Maraming
Sige.
salamat.
Para pwede nang mag-leave si sir.
I'll stay on as much as I can po, Ma'am Oxy.
Sige. Ano na ba? Nakapasok na ba sila? 5 pala. Sige, pwede na sigurong papasukin. Kasi,
okay lang. May
sir,
inintay pa po bang iba? Okay lang, ma'am.
Meron na kasi tayo pong cut-off time, 8:15.
Alright. I see. So they may
Tapos
join
hindi na sila pa,
afterwards.
hindi po,
Okay.
sila po ay hindi na makakapasok ng 8:16.
Alright. Alright. So we can start if we want to.
Try mo,
Sige.
Gusto niyong mag-shimmer? Subukan mo, Christine, Alvin, yung mga Adriel, yung slide nyo.
Sige po.
Sino mauna, ma'am?
Sige, ako muna.
Dry run muna kayo.
Dry run. Ako po tapos na mag-dry run. Sino ready?
Ako, ma'am.
Ayan.
Kasi Adriel na.
Adriel.
Kita?
Yan.
Anong kita? Yung naka-presenter view or yung naka-slide?
Slide.
Naka-presenter view.
Naka-presenter ka, nakikita rin yung next slide mo. Pareho. Parehong kita.
Yan, ito na lang.
Ayan. Okay. Wow, ang ganda naman, Ang daming chemical.
Recycled lang po yan. Yun yung ginamit last year.
28.
Baka may date siya na, tignan mo maigi.
Sige,
Walang nakalagay.
i-run mo konti. I-run mo konti. Wow, may animation pa ha. O sige, game.
Recycle lang kasi.
Ay, ako nahirapan. Gumawa pa ako ng NSRI COVID19 measures. Naku.
Oh, okay
Game na
naman
yan.
ako.
Okay na. O, Tin, ikaw.
Same.
Ano,
Ay, wait lang po.
Nagpapasok
ano
ba kayo?
ma-stop yung screen share? Naka-screen share pa ba ako?
Hindi
Hindi
na. Hindi
Hindi
na.
na.
Nag-stop share ka na.
So, dun ako sa may changing regular. Tapos, i-ano ko na. Slideshow. Ay, wait lang po. Share
Kita na.
screen.
Kita na noo.
Ah,
Pareho lang.
pareho kayo?
Kopyahan kayo ng ano ha.
Kayahan
Ng
kami.
background ha.
May motive
Tuloy-tuloy
ba?
po yun.
Okay na yan na. Okay
Ay,
na.
mag-start pa rin siya sa ano.
Hindi,
Anong gagawin ko doon?
kasi magkasunod naman tayo, kung saan ako nag-stop, doon ka na.
Tama.
So, isa na lang siya.
Okay yon. Ano kayo eh?
Magkadugtong.
Back to back.
Apo.
Okay na yan.
Gawa na lang ako ng ano. I-delete ko yung mga nauna para ako yung mag-ganon.
Pwede. Oo.
No?
Oo. Delete mo yung nauna.
Delete ko na lang muna.
5 pa lang
Okay
ang
po.
ano?
Stop share.
Ilan ba ang ating participants? 14, 15?
15 po, Ma'am Oxy.
O, 5 pa lang sila. 5 pa lang sila nasa waiting room. Okay, live daw tayo sa YouTube para yung cleaners at 2 guards. So, very good. Ay, yung ano, si Alvin, ikaw. Ano yung kamay mo, Christine? Sabi ko, ano kayo sinisenyas mo? Tignan mo nga, nag-lipstick pa ako, no?
Dine-delete ko po yung mga ano po na yun.
Oh, di ba ganda na aking virtual background? Oh. Dapat may virtual background pala tayo. Adriel, ikaw.
Love na love ko yung likod ko.
Sige na nga, Adriel. Pahabaan yata ng buhok ka, Alvin and Adriel.
Takot magpagupit mo.
Haba na po talaga.
Uy, nakapagpagupit na ako.
Kakatakot
Adriel,
mo.
pakita na yung ano mo, yung PowerPoint. Ay, tapos ka na pala, si Alvin
Tapos
pala.
na po.
Sorry, si Alvin.
Na ano ko pa lang, ma'am.
Ang dilim pala dito.
Dapat ang ilaw na sa harapan mo.
Kundi po yung iba.
Ayaw.
Ayun, sorry.
Kita, ma'am?
Ayan. Lumiwanag.
Kita?
Lumiwanag ako.
Kita ba yung slides ko?
Hindi po.
Hello? Hindi siya kita?
Hindi po.
Dali, Meeting ID. Wala, ayaw.
Okay.
Babasa pa lang, ma'am.
Alvin, natapos na?
Kita na ba?
Sino na po ang nandyan? Si Sydney?
Kita ba yung slide ko, ma'am?
Hindi.
Hindi pa. Hindi siya.
Share screen mo. Share screen mo.
Share.
Oh, in 12 minutes, magsisimula na tayo.
Pwede po ma-test ulit.
Sige.
Yung ano po, yung PDF, yung ano po, tawag dito?
Yung game.
Yes.
Oo, pero meron na tayong participants eh. Yung first lang,
Kita
first
po ba?
live.
Kita?
Okay na. Oh. Stop mo na. Makikita na nila. So, tin, narinig mo ako? Kapag nakapakita yon, type ka kaagad sa chat box na question number 1.
Okay po.
Tapos, watch out na lang Adriel and Tin kung sino yung unang makakasagot.
Sige po, ma'am.
Ha?
Okay po.
Ay, kuha ko ng paper.
May pinapasok na. Pwede na magpapasok.
Ayaw pumasok no sa akin.
Gusto mong i-send, di ba sinend mo? Tanong mo nga kay
Yes.
Christine. Bakit wala si Joshua?
Yan ma'am, kita na?
Hindi.
Hindi pa rin siya. Bakit?
Hindi, si Christine na lang.
Ma'am,
Sige ma'am.
Oxy.
Si Christine na lang.
10 minutes pa.
Tin,
Yes po.
pwede mong i-play yun sa akin? Hindi ko ma-share sa akin.
Ay, nasan na yun kay Al?
Yung in-email ko kagabi.
Sige po, na-download ko na yun eh. Nasaan na? Kuya Alvin. Buti na lang abot yung wifi dito. Wifi ng
Hindi, sa ISL pa rin ata dito.
show. Ito. Meron. Wait.
Ayan.
Yan.
Kita ba?
Oo.
Ako na nagko-control.
Nakita na po.
Kaso kita lahat.
Oo, kita lahat.
Bakit
Maliit.
lahat?
Sa'yo na lang, Tin.
Di ba pwedeng full screen?
Sa'yo na lang, Tin.
Try
Full
ko.
screen?
Wait po. Buksan ko muna siya.
Pahaba tayo buhok, Kuya Alvin.
Sure. Mas mahaba sa'yo.
Di ako nakatali eh.
Saan na? Share. Tapos, dito. Ay, nasaan na ako? Anong nangyari sa... Bakit ganyan? Tingnan mo. Bakit ganito? Napunta sa taas.
Ay, iwan. Hindi, pero pwede na yan. I-F5
Wait.
mo yan.
Ay, ayan. Share screen.
Tapos yung slide.
Ito.
Yan, oo. Tapos i-F5 mo.
F5.
Yan.
Iba yung ano ko eh. Slide. Saan? Bakit?
Tlag mo ngayon pababa.
Sa'yo.
Yan, natlag mo ngayon pababa. Ayaw maklik. Yan.
Meron?
Sa itaas. Oo. Sa umpisa.
Meron? Kasi bakit sa akin ganyan?
Slide number 2 yan.
Ay? Bakit ganun?
Maghiwalay tayo para hindi nag-echo. Yan.
Yan.
Okay na kaya?
Mag-e-echo kayo pag magkatabi kayo.
Kasi nga ako yung nag-share.
Oo. Ikaw yung ano eh. Ikaw pipindot dyan para
Sige po.
okay na yan.
Okay na
Kita
yan. Kita?
Kita.
Kita
Kita
po.
naman lahat, no? Hanggang dulo, kita. Sige, pindot kang pindot. Sige.
Eh!
Sige lang.
Kita
Oo.
lahat.
Oo, kita.
So, okay?
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Stop share.
Okay.
6 pa lang sila. Mga in-email ko. Oh, ang linaw, Idrel.
In 6 minutes, no? 6 minutes, 2 minutes, o 5 minutes? Ano sa inyo? 5
6,
minutes,
ma'am.
6?
Seven.
Yun, may audio na.
Nagkaroon na ng boses si ano.
Ma'am, yung iba po nasa lobby.
Sinong 5?
Ma'am, yung 2 cleaners, 2 guard, tsaka po si Janelle, yung taga-property po.
Okay. Si Janelle na taga-property, kailangan mag-quiz siya, ha?
Problema kasi ma'am, walang webcam yung sa property. Hindi rin po siya wala ring ano.
3 minutes. Baka pwede na tayo magsimula. Hanggang 8:50 naman ang admission, ano? Diba? Sige. Magandang umaga po sa lahat. The last safety seminar, I think, was done in February or March 2020. No? So dapat po sana ay 2 beses sa isang taon. But because of the pandemic, we were not able to have it during the second semester. Naririnig niyo po ba ako?
Yes po.
Hello? Oo.
Yes po.
So para po sa webinar, no, yung ating Zoom rules, no, pakipatay po ng tawag nito, ng microphone. Turn off your microphone, mute kayo. And then if there's an opportunity for photo op, dun lang po kung if you like to share your video, pwede naman ano. So let's start. Share screen lang ako. Ay, sorry. Mali pala. Sorry. Okay, welcome to the first webinar on NSRI safety and security guidelines. So, nag-start po tayo ng admission at 7:30. If we are holding this in face-to-face, sinasarado po natin ang ating pinto ng 8:16. So, ganun din po tayo ngayon, no? We will close the, sorry po. We will close the admission by 8:16. Sorry po, maingay po yung aso namin. So before we start, let's have welcome remarks from our director, Dr. Elmer S. Estacio.
Good morning. Morning po. Morning, everyone. So, welcome to the webinar on NSRI safety and security procedures. Napaka-importante po na maging aware sa safety and security procedures, especially for the new staff members of NSRI. Para po sa ating lahat ito, kasama po ako kasi baguhan din po ako sa NSRI. So ang mga topics po na pag-uusapan ngayon ay especially COVID-19 pandemic. So there will be talks on COVID-19 safety, security, especially po chemical safety and waste disposal management, and lastly fire safety po. In fact, I would like to take this opportunity to ask Choi to have a meeting with me regarding the fire safety measures at NSRI. So hindi lang ho importante itong mga bagay na ito para sa personal safety natin, para na rin sa safety ng mga kasama nating nagtatrabaho sa NSRI, and most importantly, may mga batas po tungkol dito. So ito po ay pagsunod sa batas at the same time. So I'm going to make this short so that the more important sections of this webinar will commence immediately. Maraming salamat po kina Ma'am Oxy, si Tin, Adriel, Alvin, and Joy for facilitating this webinar. I formally welcome you to the 2021 NSRI Safety and Security Procedures webinar. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Thank you.
Yeah. Maraming salamat, Sir Tux, no? Yan ang ating tawag kay Sir, no?
Tux is fine. Opo.
Sige, mag-umpisa tayo doon sa program, how we are going to proceed doon sa program natin. Okay. So ito po yung program natin, and this is how we will run it. Meron tayong game. So meron tayong premyo dyan, secret pump pagkatapos na ng game. And then if you look at this, magra-wrap up tayo. Yung quiz po will be sent to you through your email by 1 to 2 o'clock, and you have to complete the quiz or submit or email your responses before 5 in the afternoon. So isang requirement natin ngayon yan, for you to get the certificate of attendance, you have to submit your quiz, at dapat po ay naging virtually present tayo dito, So please take down notes, So pakita ko lang yung the last physical seminar. Ito muna po pala ang ating NSRI Safety and Security Committee members. Ako po ang chair, si Maria Auxilia Siringan. I am also the head of the Microbiological Research and Services Laboratory. Christine Manalang and Virg Valenzuela are from the Research and Analytical Service Laboratory. Both of them are accredited pollution control officers of EMB DENR. And we have Mr. Adriel John Ilagan, who is our Chemical Safety and Waste Management URA. Sila po mga resource speakers natin. Of course, we have Mr. Eliazar, or we call him Choi Del Remedio, our building administrator. and Engineer Alvin D. Malyari, the head of the property office, and our fire safety officer. Ito po yung mga nakaraan, may game tayo na pabilisan ng pagsuot ng ating laboratory PPEs, ano? Yan, sana pwedeng magawa uli yan, ano? Okay, so let's start with our by asking you all, sino-sino po ba ang galing sa DNA analysis lab? Pwede bang mag-ano nung emoji dyan? Raise hand. Meron ba? Dal? Okay, thank you, Ram. BRSL. Maraming BRSL. Raise hand. Sa emoji lang po. May nakikita ba kayo? Si Nikki lang ba? Okay. MRSL. Wala pa yung MRSL. Isa lang yun. RASL. Okay. Property. Meron ba sa property? Admin. Okay. Sige. Yan. No? Marami sa admin. No? Salamat po. No? Sige. So, let's take down notes para alert tayo lahat. Ano? At para maya merong manalo din sa game. No? Paramihan ng tamang sagot. No? The first two po will be given load. Yan, pang load. Pwedeng go sakto 90 o anong gusto nyo. No? Hanggang 90 pesos lang po. Sige. Let's start with the NSRI COVID19 measures. Dati wala po tayo nito. At dahil sa pandemya, no, nagkaroon po tayo ng mga measures. Okay. So we have the NSRI COVID-19 measures. These were implemented in March 2020, and as a response to the UP Diliman post-ECQ recommendations, we formed the NSRI post-ECQ team. So originally we have Dr. Jonas Piquilang as our acting director, heading this NSRI PET. And now we have Dr. Estacio. We have Choi Del Remedio, who is also our health liaison officer. Si Hello, siya yung nakikita nyong madalas sa NSRI. And then yours truly, Oxy Siringan, and Manya Ruth M. Dalet. Si Manya, si Miriam Ruth, no? Na taga-DNA Analysis Lab. So ito lang po, in March 2020, UP Diliman has prepare these post-ECQ recommendations. And this is evolving, no? Dahil we move from ECQ to GCQ, tapos bumalik sa MECQ, tapos GCQ. So, ang daming QQ, no? Then, as a response, the College of Science prepared these recommendations. At ito po ay naging effective noong May 27, 2020. So, all of these are our references. We also received these guidelines for responding to COVID-19 cases. It happened in NSRI, and I commend the section that has done very well in responding to COVID-19 cases. I'm flashing also here the Department of Trade and Industry and Department of Labor and Employment joint interim guidelines on workplace prevention, as well as the OH guidelines. These are also references for the formulation of the NSRI COVID-19 measures. So ito po yung ating NSRI PET. Ang talagang pong membro ay tatlo, no? But we asked for 4. So we have the director, and then we have Mr. Choi Del Remedio, myself, and Manya. Mary Angelo R. Santiago is our data collection officer. Bakit kailangan po niyan? Mamaya papakita natin. Okay. So ito po yun. So at the start of the implementation of the NSRI COVID-19 measures, we have this NSRI COVID-19 risk assessment.
I-download na lang natin uli.
So sa mga bago nating mga staff, kailangan pong padalhan itong Google Form. Meron po naman tayong data privacy niyan. So si Miss San Diego po ang magpapadala and we'll have responses. And some of the data here are included in the weekly schedule that are submitted by your laboratory or section head. Kasi importante po yung pag nakalagay kung may comorbidity because there's the issuance of office order for staff who are physically reporting but with comorbidity. So, i-institute po natin itong RA form. Then, ito na po yung 6 pages total, no? So, I think by tomorrow, we will have a compilations of the measures of the recommendations and the lectures, no, in PDF, and will be sent to the heads and to the participants, no. So you have a compilation, no? So everyone will be oriented and will be and are properly advised, no? Kasi para wala tayong nami-miss, no. Hindi pwedeng sabihin hindi natin alam. So if you look at this is based on DTI DOLE screening, no, for employees who are reporting and even for visitors. So nakita nyo naman yan, ginagawa naman yan ng ating guards, no. So hihimayin natin yan later. So before you leaving your house, no, if you are physically reporting, no, magkaroon muna tayo ng self-assessment. So if you have a mild fever, which is 37.3 degrees Celsius at least, no, please do not report, no, even if you have a schedule of physical reporting. So halimbawa kahit po may inuubo, sinisipon, masakit ang tiyan, no, so i-cancel yung physical reporting. Then as you leave your house in transit, nagko-commute hanggang makarating sa NSRI, please wear your face mask and face shield properly. So ayan po yung mga guidance, no? Hindi po pwede yung mask with exhalation valve like this one. Hindi lang pwedeng face shield o yung clear. So proper yung surgical face mask or pwede rin pong cloth, no? Do not wear any visor type, no? Face shield, it should be full face shield, no? So lalo na po if we are interacting with people, no? So nakaka-receive po tayo ng mga reports na even yung guard without any mask nakipag-usap sa isang visitor, nire-report po natin yan, ano? All of these measures are based on the Joint Memorandum Circular number 20-4A series of 2020. Of course, no, kung wala nasa labas ka naman, the best thing is you have your 70% alcohol. But if you're in the lab, make sure that you wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds. No? Isang happy birthday lang po yan. Ito po yung before leaving your house, no? So, naulit, sorry. Bring your own alcohol if possible, no? Kung wala talagang soap and water, no, access doon, so alcohol lang po. Then when you enter NSRI, no, you will see these infographics, no? So thank you, Choi, for placing them. Noong dati kasi face mask pa lang, but then nagdagdag tayo ng face shield, no? You will these are the steps, no, that you will perform before you enter NSRI. So wear your face mask, no? Thank you Kemedi na ating model, face shield. You step on the disinfection mat for 5 to 10 seconds. And meron po tayong chlorine bleach dyan, no? Then you have the alcohol. So you have to step here. Hindi nyo na kailangang i-pump, no? Step on the pedal. You will accomplish a health screening form o kaya po minsan may dala na kayo because you can download it or it was sent to you. So if your body temperature no, when you are checked no, is 37.5% degrees Celsius, you have to stay here in this area before the lobby. And then 3 times po ang ating measurement of temperature. If in the third reading is still 37.5 degrees Celsius or higher, we have a holding room, yan, room 213, and we'd like to thank Dal for giving that room for the holding area. And afterwards po, kayo ay observe, we will have to inform the health our hello, who is Mr. Choi, so that you will be brought to the University Health Service for examination. So yan po yung ginagawa ng guard natin. Yan, temperature, then you have the health screening form. So you have to place here your temperature, no, dun sa dito niyan, ano. Sa atin po na may physical reporting, alam ng guard kung sino yung papasok, at saka the weekly schedule with physical reporting of different staff, no, is submitted to the director and the NSRI PET. So kung hindi ka schedule, hindi ka pwedeng pumasok. If there are visitors or technicians, halimbawa, no, doing preventive maintenance, no, pinagpapaalam yan ng head. So make sure hindi po lahat mag-i-email sa amin. Okay, Sir Tux, no? Yung head po o yung contact person of that section or lab will have to ask permission, no? So hindi po kahit sino para hindi magulo, no? So temporarily suspended nating biometric scanner. So our guard on duty records the time in and time out. So while you are in the office, no, tignan natin yung ating pakiramdam. Baka naman nagkakasakit na tayo, no? So fever, fatigue, dry cough, sore throat, shortness of breath, diarrhea, and loss of taste and smell. So kung ganyan po, dapat huminto na, and then i-alert po ang guard and our health liaison officer, who is Mr. Del Remedio. So kung probable, mangyayari dito po yung pupunta sa 213. And these are the things that we have to follow. Hopefully we have an NSRI vehicle, but our driver should wear PPEs, no air conditioning, windows open, and vehicles will be cleaned and disinfected. Of course, kung merong relatives o family members yung ating COVID-19 case suspect, they will be alerted or informed. So during in handling this, no, kailangan pong malaman natin kung sino yung mga naging in contact with that probable COVID-19 case. So parang contact tracing. And we've done this. One of our labs has done this. Mahusay yung reporting and documentation. Very essential po yun, ano? And in that workstation where the possible COVID-19 case worked, no, they should have disinfection of all surfaces and of the environment, no, to prevent transmission of COVID-19. Of course, kailangan po mag-self-isolate. So nangyari na po yan. Ano, alam naman natin yan, familiar tayo niyan. And that employee and probably mga PUI o yung mga close interaction with the COVID-19 case or probable COVID-19 case should also self-isolate for 14 days. At pwede po naman kailangan lang natin malaman, no, yung pagtitest dyan, no, mag-swab test. And it's a good thing that we have the Philippine Genome Center and Silungan Molave na supporting this aspect, no. Now, in your workstation, make sure that you disinfect. No? 70% alcohol lang naman po yan. Ano yung mga high surfaces, high touch surfaces like the doorknobs, switches, your computer mouse, the keyboards, etc. No? So if you are working for 4 to 8 hours, every 2 or every 3 hours, sana na-disinfect natin yan. Ano? And before you leave your workstation. So 70% ethyl or isopropyl alcohol, wipe down natin yan. No? Okay. And of course, your workstation, you have to have alcohol also for disinfection. Mas konti lang ang gamit natin para less yung transmission. And be diligent about wearing face mask. No? So, ang dami ko pong nahuhuli, natatakot po sila pag nakikita ko. Kasi pag nakikita kong nasa baba yung face mask. Diba? No? So, sana po no, na proper ang ating pagsuot. No, covered po ang nose, ang mouth, no, close yan. Ito po yung madalas nakikita ko pag nahuhuli dito sa NSRI, no. So please, until you reach home, please wear it properly. Then, ito po yung mga yan, kailangan malinis ang kamay natin before you wear it, wear your face mask. Again, hindi po pwede yung may valve, hindi ko na po anuhin to, So, at least 1 disposable surgical face mask per day. So, kung 8-hour work yun, sana po ganun, isa lang. And, ito po yung proper way how kailangan malinisin ang kamay natin, And for the disposal, it's important that we dispose it properly, yung used surgical face mask. So if you change in the office or you change at home, make sure that you disinfect the surgical face mask. So mga 3 to 4 minutes contact time. Or you can use chlorine. Madali lang pong gumawa niyan, 1 part water, 1 part, and 9 parts Sonrox or Clorox, Allow for 1 to 2 minute contact time. At sana ilagay natin sa plastic bag and put a label, delikado o nakakahawa para hindi naman magkasakit ang ating mga garbage collectors. Okay, so ito po yan. But I think I will not go through this, but we will send you the COVID-19 measures that NSRI is implementing. So sana po ang ating mga lab ay merong biohazard waste bin and bags. Nandun po yung ating mga disinfected used face masks or other PPEs. And our cleaners will collect them. So make sure sana sealed po at hindi naman nakakalat at may label, Alright, so here are some, you can follow this in the preparation of 0.1% chlorine solution or 0.5% chlorine solution, but this has to be prepared, freshly prepared, It will evaporate po, after 30 minutes to 60 minutes, wala nang bisa yan. So freshly prepared po yan, unlike sa 70% ethanol or 70% isopropyl. Now, since we have physical reporting, we have to observe physical distancing. So, each lab po meron ding sariling sariling COVID-19 measures, and we have asked the section and lab heads to submit, including the layout of each room and the maximum number of people that can stay in a room. So dapat masunod po yun kung isa lang, kung pwedeng dalawa, and then there are designated workstations so that we will have 6 feet or 2 meters distance between 2 staff working at the same time. So sana po masunod ito. And we have to practice proper hand hygiene, 40% of communicable diseases is prevented because of proper hand washing. So 20 seconds po yan, just sing 1 happy birthday before and after touching your face, using the toilet, eating, working in the lab, and in the absence of soap and water, sanitize your hands with 70% alcohol. At ito po yung mga sneezing etiquette natin. I will not go through this. Sana by this time ay alam na natin itong i-observe. And these are the references. So we will go through the NSRI guidelines, safety guidelines. Yan, So every 6 months roughly, or every semester, we have this primer or this seminar on the NSRI safety and security guidelines, Kailangan lahat ng mga magtatrabaho dito sa NSRI ay nakadalo ng ating seminar, So it's a good thing na kahit na online, we can do the webinar on the safety and security measures in NSRI, Pag wala pong certificate kayo ay hindi na kayo makaka-attend. Maghihintay muli kayo ng another webinar, for this. And probably we will have that in July, no? Kasi po, we have students coming in, kaya naging semestral ang ating conduct of the seminar. So again, these are the members of the NSRI Safety and Security Committee. So why do we need to have safety rules? Because there are always hazards and risks. So hazard is any agent or process that can potentially harm. So ano-ano ba ang mga hazard natin? Sorry. No? So pwedeng chemicals, pwedeng mikrobyo, pwedeng fire, no? Pwede ring tao, no? Kasi kung nagkaroon ng galit kagaya nung in an ISI publication, no? They have traced the salmonella in the muffin that was eaten by a laboratory personnel to the salmonella strain that one of them is handling. No? May nag-email, sinabi, ay merong muffin doon sa pantry, kumain, tapos puti na lang may marker. So yun, may galit yata doon sa pinagbigyan ng muffin. No? So dapat bati-bati tayo, no? Maganda ang ating relationship din. No? And risk is the likelihood or the probability that that agent, no, can cause injury or harm, no, sa ating mga staff. Okay, these are the objectives, no, based on Gershon and Sirkin, which is a publication of the American Society for Microbiology, no, objectives for the safety training. So it's important we have information, we instruct you, that's why we have this webinar, and even the emergency procedures. No, later we will hear from the resource speakers. And we have to familiarize each lab worker. No? Kahit po tayo ay nasa admin, kailangan alam din. And we have to motivate our workers. For example, if I see a lab aide eating in his station doon sa med-contamination room, then I have to tell him na baka ka magkasakit niyan, so hindi ka magkakaroon ng productive na day, so may hirapan ka pa. So kailangan nating ma-motivate o ma-cite sila, no, to observe also the safe practices. The safety rules, no, of course, are there for your protection of the lab personnel and protection of the environment. At the same time, if you are healthy, the environment is safe, then you will have a productive workplace. So, kailangan sana po ang ating mga heads or section heads ay training. So, that's why we have this webinar, and there should be strict implementation. And kung hindi po pinupost, no, nalagay na po yan sa ating website, and we will disseminate not just the laboratory safety guidelines, but also the other materials, no, in this seminar. So GLP stands for Good Laboratory Practice, and here are some do's and don'ts. So if you enter a laboratory or an office, take note of the fire hazards. No? So ano ba mga fire hazards yan? No? Any electrical equipment, tools, no? O papel, pwede rin, ano? Flammables, yung ating electrical hazards, no? Pati yung mga gadgets natin, mechanical hazards like in the centrifuge may rotor, no? Yung glass din, biological hazards like bacteria, pathogenic fungi, etc. And chemical hazards, no? Kagaya ng ating mga solvents dyan or acids and others, no? So try to locate in your laboratory if you have the eye wash, and this has to be changed once a week with potable water, no? So kailangan po yan. And you have to locate along in the room or in the hallway this safety shower. So wag niyo po yung hilahin, kundi babaksak ang maraming tubig sa inyo, no? It's for emergency situation, no? If there's acid spill, for example, no? Just pull it and water will come out, no? Then ito pa po, locate the fire exit nearest you. And beside the fire exit is this glass with the key. No, so you have to break it in case there's fire or earthquake, no? At para mabuksan natin yung glass door dito, no? And we have sand along the hallway to extinguish fire. no? And our fire extinguisher is being inspected every year and refilled. Meron tayong fire alarm. Wag natin pong paglaruan yan, ano? It's just for warning. Itong electrical cut-off switch, no? When you enter a laboratory or a room, you have to look for this. Vital po yun. If there's tripping in the power, no? Dapat po ay automatic siyang switch off, no? Pag hindi, kayo na lang, ano? So, laging gray yan at hindi dapat tinatakpan, no? It should be exposed and unobstructed. So if there's any accident, no, report to your lab supervisor. No? Mas magbuti pong alam nila kesa later malalaman. Sabi niya, boss, the bacteria blew up. No? So sabihin po no, kung mayroong problema. And you have to have the numbers, no, in the lab, printed or in your phone. Kaso kung mag-low-bat ang inyong telepono, maganda po may printed din, ano? Ito po yung mga important. Wala na po tayong fire department sa UP. So, you have to run to the Bureau of Fire Protection of Quezon City, no? So, remain calm, shut off all circuit breakers, electrical boxes, and as of now, hindi natin magawa itong fire drill, no? But we have done that before. In case of earthquake, ito rin po ang ating mga numbers. No? Keep away from unstable structures. Dati po meron tayong evacuation center doon sa likod natin. But I think meron ng building, so we have to find another place where we can evacuate in case of earthquake. No? Basta po proceed to a safe place. It's an open place without the electrical posts or structures that can fall, no, on people. So for security reason, we have CCTV, no? So maganda po yan kasi nalalaman natin if there are unauthorized personnel coming in, na prevent po yung mga burglary, na kikita natin kung sino yung mga pumapasok, no? And that's why din po at the entrance there is a warning, no, in connection with the Data Privacy Act. We have the that warning now. We are being recorded. No? So the moment that you step in NSRI, you are aware of that. Of course, each door has this glass window. No? Bakit po meron yan at hindi dapat tinatakpan? So we will know if there is an accident or fire or may naiwang gripo, meron na palang magnanakaw, no? So nakatulong po yan dahil itong kwento po namin na malapit sa aming laboratory, 9 a.m., may umuusok at nakita namin sa ganitong bintana. So it's a good thing it was in the morning and our former property officer opened the door at nakita nga po na natuyuan na yung percolator dun sa room na malapit sa aming lab. Kung hindi po nasunog na ang NSRI. So napatay po yun. So wag pong takpan. Okay, so make sure that all of the appliances or equipment that are not being used should be turned off. So in MRSL, we have this. Pwede nyo pong gawin yan na there's an assigned person who will check, no, before they leave. No. So simple lang po, pwede namang kanya, no. Make sure na secure yung the doors, the windows, the exit. Yung ating fire exit ay sinasara lang po natin ng after work, no, after 5 p.m. Kasi ayaw naman nating bukas lahat ng ating building. So it should be open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So because of the pandemic, we just open it at the time there is a staff reporting in that section. Make sure that ngayon ay bawal lang aircon, no, because of COVID-19. Buksan na lang po ang bintanan. But for labs, no, for handling microorganisms, I think it is necessary to close the windows, and for the time of working, pwede pong bukas ang AC natin. So security, okay, the lab heads or section heads or the thesis advisor should know At least should know, no? Hello? Ito po yung dati natin ginagawa, no? But because of our situation, hindi po pwede to. But the lab head should know, or the section head should know who are reporting physically. So, dapat wala pong unauthorized personnel during each week, no? We have to post these signs of this is for biohazard, no? For microorganisms, example, no? And no smoking. So, dapat wala na po naninigarilyo sa loob, no? At ng ating NSR. Building maintenance. So, Mr. Choi, who is also our building administrator, oversees the duties and responsibilities of the janitors. So, he makes sure that the trash is properly stowed and not piled. Segregated po yan. So, dapat po yung ating mga nabubulok or the biodegradable waste should be dumped into the compost pit at the back of NSRI. They make sure that the fire extinguishers are fully charged or filled and accessible. So meron din po tayong inspection of the building, may tumutulo ba, pati po ang ating mga pest control, no, program should be in place. This is done together with the property office. Then our floor and area should be clean but dry, so we prevent accidents due to wet floors. Meron tayong emergency equipment and hallways are unobstructed. So hindi po pwedeng maglagay ng pressure cooker sa hallway at baka mahirapan po tayong maglakad-lakad, no? So meron tayong mga signs, meron tayong mga labels dyan. And the guard should be staying in the station, their workstation. So if they are roving, meron po tayong sign din doon. No? We have to have proper lighting and signage. No? And there's always immediate repair. No? So meron po tayong job request form that can be accessed online. At doon nyo po isulat kung ano yung for inspection, for repair, no? Like kulang na pala ang busted na ang fluorescent lamp o may tumutulo, no? Doon po sa online, I think baka pwedeng i-inform nila Engineer Alvin, no? Kung ano yung link na yon. And Mr. Choi supervises the activities of the janitors, no? So if you're working, make sure that you plan well, especially that you have limited physical reporting. Do you have the protocols, the materials, you are the equipment functioning, operational, baka sira na pala, no? Yung lab schedule, ano ba yung mga schedule ng kasama nyo? So read, prepare, no, understand the procedure, don't hesitate to ask questions from your lab supervisor and you prepare, no? Dapat bago pa lang nahanda nyo na, especially limited ang ating physical reporting, no? So, supposedly maganda yung body system, no? But because of our limited physical reporting and physical distancing, we have to maintain the 1 to 2 meter distance. At nangyayari, minsan nagiging isa ka lang during that time, no? But posible naman na in different rooms of each lab, no, there will be people working together. Keep things in order, no? So tayo po ang maglinis, mag-ayos, and make sure that you segregate your waste. No, kung merong basag, no, mamaya sasabihin natin, dapat hindi po sa bin, no, na kinukuha agad ng ating mga cleaners. No eating, no drinking, no smoking, no brushing of teeth or applying cosmetics in the laboratory. And while you're doing your work, no, wala naman sanang texting, no, kasi baka tayo magkamali. No horseplaying inside and outside the laboratory. Nung araw po kasi merong nagkukulitan sa hallway. At kung may dalang mga glasswares yung makakasalubong ay mahirap na po. Okay, personal hygiene, wash your hands vigorously no? With friction po yan. 20 seconds before and after working, eating, going to the toilet, no? At ito po yung DOH. No, hindi ko po mamuestra ngayon kung paano, but meron pong interlocking, pati back of the hand, your palms, no? And even up to your elbow. So ito po yung disinfection again of your work areas. Pagsuot po ng ating PPE, especially for handling chemicals, no? You have to have the proper mask, no, or respirator, proper street clothes, no. Hanggang ngayon po nakikita ko mayroon pa ring naka-short. Sana po nakunan ko ng picture, no. Please wag po mag-short sa lab, no. Kung pwede po naka-pants tayo, no, and closed shoes. So the lab gown should be made of cotton and impervious enough to protect the employee, covering our arms and middle of the body. Button at all times must be clean. So sana po dalawang ating lab gown. So kami mayroong, because of the pandemic, we have bins for use and clean lab gowns, and we wash the lab gowns in MRSL. So meron kaming washing machine. So sana po pwede naman ganun. So hindi na uuwi yung maruming lab gown na may mikrobyo. No? And do not wear it outside. No? Kung pupunta sa CR, please take off your lab gown. No? Eye protection, I think this is for people handling acids and alkalis, solvents. No? You need to have your goggles, no, to protect your eyes. Take note, yung acetone na panglinis natin, no, if it's always, you are always exposed, no, hindi nyo sinasara yung bote, it can damage the cornea. And some organisms such as Pseudomonas, no, can cause infection if we are not careful with in handling them. So safety glasses and chemical goggles are not the same. So meron tayong safety glasses when you are, you have to wear it when you are handling glasswares, putting in the stopper, or when you are using a rotor, no? Pati po sa UV, kailangan, kung may UV, dapat meron po tayong safety goggles. Now for chemical goggles, this is also for handling vapors, dust and other chemicals, no, from, or aerosols from cultures. Yan, usong-usong face shield natin kahit hindi tayo nag-handle ng chemicals and biological splashes. So it helps a lot, but make sure that you also have your face mask. Hair restraint, no? So kung mahaba ang buhok, may mga mahahabang buhok ngayon, no, kahit lalaki, no? Tied it in ponytail, no? Or wear a head covering if you are handling potentially hazardous microorganisms or other biological agents. So gloves, no, hindi po yan one size fits all, no. There are different types of gloves, no. Like this, use appropriate gloves for hot objects, no. Insulated yan for cold. For let's say you have sa ultra low freezer, ginamit niyo, kumukuha kayo ng mikrobyo o sa cryopreservation. So you have to have the insulated cryo or neoprene gloves. For organic solvents, no, yan po, polyvinyl alcohol gloves. And for biological agents, no, normally we are purchasing or using nitrile instead of latex, no, at sana powder free po, no, because there are some allergic reactions to powder. So yung foot protection, no, this is very important for those handling chemicals, no. Closed leather shoes, no open toe, o yung mga chinelas, no. So change footwear if you are in a culture room, no. Iba yung ating street footwear sa footwear used inside the laboratory. Again, ito na po yung sinabi kong proper laboratory attire, no. So some reminders. Okay, do not taste chemicals and solutions and avoid mouth pipetting. Do not leave your experiment unattended. So yung kwento ko nga po na iniwan yung percolator, no? Pero yung isang pong pinaka-grabing nangyari ay doon sa UP Los Baños na naiwan ng isang hot plate at nasunog po yung building na kung nasaan ang electron microscope. Okay, so ayaw po natin mangyari yun at maraming experiments, thesis na maaantala, no? So turn off, no, unplug. And even po itong gripo, no, kasi there was a story in yung side ng DAL, no, dati andun ang physics and chemistry, I think nawala ng tubig. So ang nangyari, hindi nasara ang gripo and bumalik yung tubig. Nagbaha po and the equipment of one professor got damaged because of the flooding. So mahirap po yung mangyari yun sa atin. Okay, so personal hygiene, laboratory ground should be clean, worn inside the laboratory. At as much as possible, dalawa sana para meron tayong pamalit habang nilalabhan. Change footwear, nails. Okay, walang pahabaan ng kuko. Malinis, no nail polish, trim. You have to remove your jewelry during your laboratory work and proper hand washing. Number one cause of lab accident ay glasswares, no? Kasi minsan mali-mali ang ating paghawak, no? So sabi niya, use common sense when using glasswares. Nakita mo ba ang test tube? Ayun pala, no? Sabihin lang niya na we have to handle, we have to store, we have to use our glasswares properly. So if we are doing this, like putting the glass tubing in the stopper, make sure that you have gloves, you lubricate the tubing, and you hold your hands close. You hold the tube close to your hands, no, para there will be less movement and less breakage. Never use your laboratory glasswares for food and drink. So to prevent damage, no, so we have to have our proper holders, such as this test tube racks or test tube baskets, no. Inspect if there are breakage, no. Kung may lamat, wag nang gamitin. And dispose broken glasswares in designated bins, no. So sana plastic po yan at hindi papel, no. Sturdy na plastic at with label. If, for example, the glassware contains microorganisms, then it has to be decontaminated first before you throw in the broken glass bin. Of course, these are some of the practices that you can do if there's broken glass. No, sana mayroon tayong walis at pandakot to gather, or tongs for small broken pieces. The sharps, like the needles, the blades of the scalpel, should also have its own bin. No, so decontaminate first. So you have to have the chlorine solution before you dispose of, and there should be labels. No. So I'll just go through very quickly with this chemical safety because this will be discussed by Adriel and Christine, our pollution control officer. So we have to have a PIDEA permit. So the chemicals that you use in the lab, which is regulated by PIDEA, are regulated. So kailangan po ng permit. So we have permit, no, PIDEA permit, and our pollution control officers are updating this one. Ano. So meron po tayong PIDEA permit, and we have to store the regulated chemicals in secured chain and padlock cabinets. We submit a list, no, to PIDEA, no, the each PIDEA regulated chemical and the quantity that we use for 1 year. And then at the end of the year, we submit the actual quantity that was used per chemical. The same thing with PNP, you have to have a license to possess and license to purchase. So dalawa pong lisensya yan. So dalawang gastos din. Ano. So lahat po ng nitrate, kaya potassium nitrate, ammonium nitrate, no, regulated yan kasi ginagamit po sa paggawa ng bomba. So inasikaso rin po yan ng NSRI through our pollution control officer. Again, we have to submit the documents, the list, the quantity to be purchased, and at the end of the year, the list of and the quantity that was used, no, for each chemical. Now, yung storage din po is to be secured, chain, and padlock ng cabinets. So, dapat meron tayong proper labeling, storage, and we have the MSDS. So, the good thing is you can download the MSDS, no, in the web. And you have to be acquainted, no, with the labels and the global harmonized symbols, no. Makikita naman yan, no. And you have to see ano po ba ibig sabihin yan, toxic ba yan, anong mangyayari sa inyo kung if you ingest it, no, or inhale. So, kailangan maging familiar dyan. So, in the lab, no, not everyone is familiar with the chemical formula. And that's why it is important that you write the full name. Hindi po yung KOH, no? So, sabihin potassium hydroxide para mas klaro sa lahat. And you do not remove the primary label. So if you will transfer from a big bottle to a smaller bottle, make sure that you write the chemical identity, potassium hydroxide. Halimbawa, hazard warning, ano bang symbol yon? Toxic ba siya? Oxidizer ba siya? Etc. And the date of transfer. So these are the globally harmonized system symbols, no? Yan, tignan yung mabuti. Baka lumabas yan sa game o sa quiz, no? Yan, meron na kayong tip. Ito po yung generic na MSDS. Yan, proper storage. So, sana po hindi pinagsasama ang incompatible chemicals. This will be explained later. Chemicals should not be stored in the floor. They should be secured. So, if you have less money, pwede pong may guard lang. Or if you have more funds, then you can have cabinets with doors, no? Lalo na po kapag mag-earthquake, at least secured po yung mga chemicals and there will be no chemical spill. So if you have funds, no, our flammable should be stored in steel or fireproof cabinets. Okay. Now, there's a room, it's 113. We have a pressure cooker there. In case your lab does not have any pressure cooker for sterilization and the contamination, you can access there. We call it the hot room, room 113. But you have to wash the decontaminated materials right away. And in that same room, we have a fume hood for handling solvents and acids. So let's say you are extracting a bioactive compound using ethyl acetate, etc., and you don't have a fume hood, you can also access. No, but do not store your materials there inside the fume hood, and it is being maintained, no, by NSRI. So mabuti po yan kasi may stock po yan so that the fumes will just go into the air, no, at hindi kayo lalanghap noon. So this is the proper use. So make sure that the sash is in the proper level so that the vapors will just proceed to the stock. Pag ganito po kasi, ikaw na ang lumalanghap niyan. Ano? So for the chemical waste, we have a chemical safety officer and we also have a university research associate who handles the chemical waste management program. So meron tayong classification of the waste, may proper storage. Our pollution control officer, who is one of our speakers, Christine Manalang, has proper training and she's in charge of the proper disposal of this chemical waste. No? And we have to submit the chemical waste to a DNR EMB accredited chemical waste treater. So meron po yung bayad, may kontrata pa. So first things first, do not dispose down the drain any chemicals. Store the waste in appropriate bottles. You will be advised by Mr. Adriel Ilagan. There should be no mixing of incompatible chemicals. So kailangan sa waste bottle, andun po ang pangalan ng chemicals, ang concentration. So halimbawa sinabi na sulfuric acid, 1 normal, etc. So fire safety, so be aware. So this will be further explained by Engineer Alvin. Yan, yung mga kailangan nating tignan. maging alert, good housekeeping, our equipment are operational, merong preventive maintenance but it's really expensive, no? Dapat we have enough power supply in the room for the equipment. Dapat po maximum is 80% yata, no, of the power supply ang magamit lang, no? No overloading, no octopus connection. We have to ask an electrician or electrical engineer. Engineer Alvin is a licensed electrical engineer and you can consult him with the power requirement of your equipment kung kakayanin ba doon sa inyong lab, no? Ito po, lagi natin ginagawa to, no? Do not use the extension as permanent outlet. Make sure the cords and outlets are in good condition. Baka nabalatan na, ay magkakaroon po tayo, ma-electrocute pa tayo, no? Use electrical cords. Ensure that they do not mix with or in contact with water or flammables. At ito po yung common mistake, no? Na yung 110 na pa-plug sa 220. So it's easy just to put labels in your equipment if it's 110 or 220. Meron pong isang lab na bago yung dinonate, 110 pala na ilagay sa 220, sumabog, nasira po yung equipment. Okay? Unplug, no? Turn off the gas tanks. Store the flammables in appropriate storage cabinet, no? Kung may gas cylinders tayo, it should be secured, no? Naka-chain, upright, and stored outside the laboratory. So, just to prevent fire. So, if there's a smoke, no, check if you can extinguish. Baka pwede namang yung sand ang lagay o kaya pwede pong patayin agad ang electrical power cut, switch off, no? And sound the alarm if in case the fires you cannot extinguish the fire, no? Huwag po magpanik at huwag tayong magmeron. So these are things that you can do if you are caught in fire. Stop, drop, roll. But if you see someone on fire, no, get wet rug or blanket and wet it and wrap the person. Huwag naman yung isuffocate. So in case of fire, yan, no, dapat alam natin ang paano gumamit ng fire extinguisher. Nasa hallway yan and go to fire exit. So ito po yung aftermath, no, of improperly stored chemicals, baka maraming solvents, but hindi na tayo dapat lumayo. We know in PAV2, the chemistry pavilion, no, ang dami pong chemicals, luma na rin yung electrical wiring, no, so nasunog po yung buong yon. And it was 11 in the evening, kaya medyo mahirap na po. Ang dami pong hindi na nawalang data in experiment and thesis, no, so sana mayroon tayong lessons learned in that experience. Okay, what happened? So biological safety naman po tayo. Okay, practice good housekeeping. If you have refs and microwave oven, make sure separate po yan for food and biological agents. Wet mop po, kung pwedeng 2 mop, no? At sana ay with disinfectant. There's no sweeping. Siguro offices lang po, no? Kasi if you sweep, you will have some aerosol also. Good personal hygiene uli. Ilang beses natin pong pinaulit-ulit ng paghuhugas ng kamay. And if you are handling E. coli, salmonella, or other potentially infectious or hazardous microorganism, make sure you have biological safety cabinet class 2. Okay, make sure na hindi rin po nag-aerosol, but remember, you don't use open fire. So ito po dito sa picture na ito, meron tayong loop sterilizer or bacticinerator. Masusunog po ang ating HEPA filter. Okay, so tama po dapat ang gamit at ang paggamit ng biological safety cabinet. Of course, in that cabinet, usually you have UV. So, sterilize po na ng 30 minutes to an hour before and after working. But remember, there is no residual effect. So, that's why you have to turn on the motor to filter the air here. No? Meron po tayong HEPA filter niyan. And it's good to have it calibrated and fumigated once a year. So, medyo mahal po. It's probably around 16 to 25,000 each unit. No? Aseptic techniques should be observed, no, or carried out during microbiological, molecular, and tissue culture procedures. Okay, disinfect. Ayan na naman, ano, ilang beses natin sinasabi, use 70%, not 95%. And if you have pipets or glass slides, make sure that you place it in a disinfectant jar containing at least 0.01 to maximum 5% chlorine solution. Allow it to be immersed there for 30 minutes, no, and then decontaminate. So we have our autoclave for sterilizing our materials. These are the usual conditions. And for heat-sensitive materials, you can also filter sterilize, no? You have to check the sterility of your media. So pagkagawa nyo, hindi nyo gagamitin agad, at least overnight or for 24 hours. Let it sit there and observe if there's growth or if the liquid media are turbid, no? Kasi baka pag ganyan, hindi na dapat gagamitin. Mayroon na tayong growth niyaan, no? It will affect the results of your experiment. So, have a separate decontamination room. So, dapat po ang clean at dirty ay hiwalay. So, hiwalay din ng autoclave, hiwalay ang washing area, decontaminate all materials that have cultures or contaminated. I-autoclave natin. We practice autoclaving or decontamination for 45 to 60 minutes because of the fungal spores, no? Mahirap pong patayin yan. And wash right away. So, hindi na po natin iiwan yan. Kailangan hugasan. Otherwise, there will be regrowth. So, ito po yung aming munting decontamination room na dedicated for decontamination. Lahat po yan. We don't use this for sterilization of materials. And in case of spill, no, sana po meron tayong natutunan namin sa biosafety seminar noong December. Magkaroon tayo ng spill kit. So, we are going to list the materials and we will pass it on to the lab heads on ano po yung spill kits, no? Kasi it's good to have a spill kit ready in case we have E. coli spill or others, no? So there should be wearing of gloves and pouring of disinfectant like 5% bleach or 10% household bleach, no? Around the edges, allow it to react for 20 minutes. And you gather the material with sterilized forceps, hindi yung kamay nyo, and place it in autoclave bag and decontaminate. So, ang practice natin for, say, the contaminated microbial cultures with media, no, right after, no, medyo lumamig ng konti, right after the contamination, we place it in our compost pit. And lab animals should be buried. There's no we cannot incinerate due to the Clean Air Act. So sa first aid kit po, ito po yung kailangan natin because these things happen, ano, especially in the lab, we have burns, we have bleeding, etc. No? So sana meron tayong first aid kit in our lab. And here are some of the items that should be inside the first aid kit. No? Kailangan po natin yan. There are some things that we can do, no? First aid sa bleeding, ito po yan. If one has been cut, no? There's a cut in your hand. Wear your gloves, pad it, locate, and then apply pressure. Elevate the area where you have a cut, and then there's dressing. Now, if the bleeding does not stop, I think you have to go to the doctor, no, to the hospital. And if it is caused by an animal bite, I think we have to determine if you have to take the anti-tetanus and anti-rabies shot. So, sprain, no, hindi natin maiwasan yan. Minsan nadulas tayo sa lab. So, rest, ito po yan. 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off nung ice pack natin for 24-48 hours. And there's bandage to compress it, elevate, and then have it checked by the doctor and have an x-ray. For eye wash, for foreign material or acid in your eye, you should use an eye wash, at para po matanggal yung ating foreign object dun sa mata natin, and rinse it with clean tap water. For burns, yan, hindi po natin nilalagyan ng kamatis, ng butter, etc. Tubig lang po. First degree burns, cold water, do not cover, do not pop the blisters, and kung mga second or third degree, baka dapat po ay pumunta na kayo sa ospital. Okay, so these are the laboratory safety and security guidelines. We hope that you can disseminate and display, and you can also implement and observe, and make sure that our lab heads and section heads monitor the implementation of these guidelines. And we'd like to thank our current director, Dr. Estacio, and the past directors who have continued to support this, the safety environment, safe environment in our in NSRI, especially for Dr. Elma Siliaguno, who spearheaded having a safety and security committee in NSRI. And if you have questions, now you may ask now. May tanong po ba tayo? Ha? Sana nag-notes kayo, no? Ha? Baka ready na silang mag-game. Sige. So, ganito ang game natin. Ready na ba kayo mag-game? Unmute nga muna lahat. Sasabihin nyo game na. Sige. Game na ba kayo?
Game na po.
Game na po.
Parang hindi kayo kumain ng almusal. Game na ba kayo?
Game na, Ma'am Oxy.
Oh, game na. So, i-flash namin yung tanong. So, Christine will write in the group chat question number 1. So, unahan kayo na maglalagay kung A o B o C o D. So, multiple choice lang. Okay? Paramihan ng tamang sagot. So, ang pinakamaraming tamang sagot, may premyo. Yung second, meron. Ilang question ba yan, Christine? Christine o Adriel? Hello, sino magpa-flash?
Adriel.
Adriel. Okay. Trial muna? Trial muna? Okay. Trial, ha? Ita-type, no? So, Christine, lagyan na natin question number 1 sa group chat. Hindi nyo pwedeng isigaw, no? Ilalagay nyo sa... Okay, game. Adriel, share screen. Nawawala si Adriel. Adriel. Marami ba kayo natutunan?
Isi-share screen.
Oh, share screen muna. Handa na silang sumagot. Ayan.
Kita na po ba?
Well, yan.
Yan, meron na.
Kakount lang ako. Pag 5, wala na. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stop sharing. Okay, sino ang pakitignan nga kung sino?
Nauna po si Jericho John Soriano.
Okay, so Jericho, 1 point.
Joke lang.
Tama ba? Ay, hindi. Dapat tama ang sagot.
Nauna
Letter
siya, pero
C.
mali.
Sino ang tamang una?
Wala pong C. Wala pong nag-C.
Wala. Di bale, sige, hindi na counted yan. Pagbigyan natin. Next, ito na, totoo na to. This time with feelings. Second question. Bali, ito na yung may points. Pag nitrate, bawas sa paputok. Kaya dapat PNP. Hindi ginagamit sa shabu yun, kaya hindi PIDEA. Next, Adriel. Yan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stop.
Ba't naggagayahan kayo ng sagot?
Kahit maggayahan sila, pero kung sino yung una?
First to ma'am, di ba?
Ha? Anong
First
sagot?
Letter. B.
B. Sino
Una po
una?
si
Nauna si
Nikki
Nikki.
de la Cuesta.
Okay, Nikki. 1
1
point. Okay. Next.
Question 3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ano kaya yan? Anong sagot? Tapos na.
B.
Sino ang una?
Si James Entienza po.
O, James and Chesa. 1 point. Paramihan to, ha? Next. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wala, Ate Christine, hindi mo sinulat yung question
Ay!
4.
Sorry.
Question 4. Di ba, makikita mo naman eh.
Sino yung...
Sino una? Anong sagot? Yan, tama. E. coli 0157E7 and Salmonella species. Sino nakatama?
Ang hirap hanapin. Wala kasi question number eh. D. Yung GT Velus at UP.edu po.
RA ko yan. Walang leakage, ha? 1 point kay Joshua. Okay. Question number 5. Napakilagay. Question number 5. O, anong sagot? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Letter C.
Wala pong tama.
Walang tama. Overload. Okay. Sorry. Yan. Next. Question number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anong sagot? Sino
Si
una?
JT Velus po ulit.
Wow, letter D. Okay,
May leakage
2
po
points. Oh yeah, hindi niya alam ah. Next, number 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stop. Okay?
Si
Letter D.
Vanessa Meclat po.
Vanessa Meclat. 1 point. Wala po nakaka-3. Mauubos na. O, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wala
Ano?
pong tumama. Ay, si Kat
Si
po
Ann.
tumama.
Si Kat.
Meron. Sino?
Si Kat.
Si Kat.
Kat? Kat ano?
KG Santa Ana.
JC Santa Ana. Irritant, hindi
Ay,
yan
ito
out.
po pala si Jericho John Soriano
Sino?
po. Una siya.
Una,
Jericho
Jericho.
John Soriano.
Jericho.
2 points na ba siya?
Opo, 2 points
2
na po.
points na si Jericho, 2 points na si Joshua, no? Okay, 9. Question number 9. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anong sagot? Oh, chemical waste yan.
Janelle po yung una.
Janelle, 1 point. And last na yata.
Last.
Last.
Ay, ba't
Okay.
ayaw?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go.
Jericho po ulit.
A. O sa kay Jericho, 3 points. So, ikaw ang may go sakto 90. At si Joshua ay go sakto 50. Tama ba yon? Meron ba nun? O bigay nyo na lang yung mga cell number nyo sa akin. Okay?
Oo naman.
Okay,
Salamat po.
congratulations. Palakpakan naman natin sila. Yan. O, sige. Now, we will proceed with chemical safety. Ang bilis natin. May tanong ba muna bago tayo mag-chemical safety? Ha?
Ma'am, ako may dadagdag lang po ako.
Ah, sige. Yes,
about,
sir.
ma'am, about doon sa room 113, yung hot room natin, yung susi no, nasa amin sa room 137. Yun lang po.
Ahead of time kung gagamit nun, sana yung lab head nung staff na gagamit will inform para madali na lang makuha ka na. Alvin, ano? May tao ba sa inyo Monday to Friday?
Yes, ma'am.
Kuya Alvin, meron din po akong susi po sa hot room.
Ayun, si Christine din.
So,
Okay.
Monday po usually pasok ko.
Oh, kasi nung ginamit din ng RA namin yun ay nagpaalam no para may access siya doon sa fume hood. Okay, wag po kayong gagamit ng solvents na walang fume hood. Meron naman po tayong fume hood sa 113. Okay? So, congratulations, Jericho John Soriano. Bigay mo na lang ang cellphone number mo ba yun? Tama ba yun? At saka si Joshua Velus. Okay, so at this point, we will have Christine Manalang, our Pollution Control Officer and University researcher in the Research and Analytical Service Laboratory. She will discuss laws, tama ba? Mga
Yes,
regulations, no?
Opo.
And chemical safety. And then tandem sila ni Mr. Adriel Ilagan, who will talk about chemical waste management program. Okay, take it away, Christine.
Okay po. So, good
Ako
morning
po yung
po.
una.
Ay, sino ba mauna? Ikaw na?
Ako. Ay, pwede naman ikaw. Ano gusto? Ay, hindi,
Ay,
sige, ako na una. Wait lang. Nakikita na po ba?
Yes, kita na.
Kita na rin ba ako? So, good afternoon po sa lahat. I am Adriel Janarlaga. Na-introduce naman na ni Ma'am Oxy. I am from RASL po. So, if kailangan nyo po ako regarding this type of discussions na may i-discuss natin ngayon, pwede nyo naman po kaming mahanap. Ako po and Ate Christine are both on RASL. So, Chemical Safety and Waste Management of NSRI. Okay. Sisimula po tayo in discussing the RA 6969, which is yung law po na fina-follow ng DNR. It's Toxic Substances and Hazardous Nuclear Wastes Control Act of, ano to, hindi ko makita, sorry, of 1990. Bale, this discusses po na lahat po ng any waste generators po ay hinihingan na nire-require na mag-comply sa DNR with their hazardous waste generator ID. So, lahat po to ng industrial, may included po tayo doon. And sa NSRI po, meron po tayong sariling haz waste ID. Iba rin po yung sa buong UP. Iba rin po yung sa kahit anong industrial areas na mapuntahan nyo. Even yung mga food court, nagko-comply din po sila dito. So, automatically, we are complying here. Bali, we are submitting yung mga reports dito on a quarterly basis po. Tapos, basically, everything that we generate wastes should be managed. Tapos, from this picture, chemical users or waste generators, project leaders, researchers, URAs, or thesis students, bali po sa kanila po, obviously, nagagaling lahat ng ng wastes na mapoproduce ng NSRI. So, sa mga lab works po, yung mga exhes, yung mga natapon na or yung pagkatapos na experiment, may mga solutions na pwede na itapon, yun po yung considered as wastes. Ngayon, we all know that we are generating those wastes. But through chemical waste management, we can facilitate the safe disposal of these wastes. So parang I leave a quote dun sa slide. The waste generator shall be responsible for the proper waste management and disposal of the hazardous waste. So inuulit ko po, lahat po ng RAs or lahat po ng project leaders, researchers, or any thesis students po na maglalab dito sa NSRI, kayo po yung responsible sa sarili niyo pong hazardous waste. Since syempre, kayo rin po yung nakakaalam po ano yung waste na na-produce nyo. Okay. So ano ba yung hazardous and chemical wastes? So hazardous wastes are substances that has substantial or potential threats to public health or the environment. Yun. Bali ito po yung mga, kunwari, nagkaroon ng contact sa inyo, sa balat nyo. Bali meron tong adverse effect sa sa health ng tao. It may be carcinogenic, it may be irritant, or anything under the sun na pwedeng bad effect sa katawan ng tao. Also in the environment, like For example, these chemicals are, for example, natapon siya sa drain, sa sink. Pagkatapos siya matapon sa sink, the flow of sa flow dun sa sink, mapupunta siguro yun, let's say, mapupunta sa mga pond o sa mga creek. Magkakaroon siya ng environmental toxicity since magdidikit po ng mga chemicals na present dun sa tinapon nyo, dun sa lupa. And it might pose risk pabalik sa atin. Kasi syempre we are in the environment. So any possible effects na magawa natin sa environment, tayo din yung damay doon. So hazardous wastes include chemical waste, animal waste, glasswares, chemical containers, infectious wastes, lab samples, pharmaceuticals, and fluorescent lamps. Obviously, chemical wastes, alam naman na natin yan sa lab. Yung animal waste, sa BRSL to majority, yung mga gumagamit ng daga. Glasswares, ito yung mga, for example, nalagyan natin ng chemical waste, yung glassware, or chemical solutions, or any mixtures. Pag na-contaminate na yon ng mga chemical mixtures, automatically it's hazardous already. Chemical containers, yun yung mga reagent bottles or any bottles na nalagyan natin ng mga solutions, or yung mga binili nating bottles, those are already hazardous. Infectious waste, those are yung mga pathogenic, tsaka yung mga bacterial, nasa MRSL yan. Lab samples, automatically, yung mga na-treat na, yung mga sample treatment na, yung mga nahaluan na ng kung ano-ano. Pharmaceuticals and fluorescent lamps, even if sa tingin nyo hindi hazardous, yung fluorescent lamps actually contains mercury. Nire-report namin siya sa DENR as mercury waste. So, kung may nabasagan kayo ng fluorescent lamps, ingat na lang, wag nyo na lang hawakan yung magpatulong na lang kayo sa kinauukulan kung paano yung tamang disposal. So, hazardous chemicals can either be short-term or long-term. Ang pinagkaiba po niyan, yung short-term po, yun yung acute toxicity sa tao. Kunyari na inom mo yung chemical, ingest mo, yun, may mga possible threat sa katawan ng tao, acute, yung mga sasakit ng tiyan mo, automatic siya, short term nga. As the name suggests, yun nga, medyo mabilis yung effect niya sa tao. Inhalation, yung mga pag nalanghap mo yung chemical, biglang hindi ka na makakahinga. Skin absorption, yung biglang, alam nyo yung pag sa mga acids, pag natapunan ka, biglang malalapnos yung kamay nyo, ganun. Tapos yung long term, obviously those are involved with the solvents. Yung solvents na majority na makikita natin sa lab or yung mga carcinogenic ones that if natapon sa atin, kala natin wala lang siyang effect. But eventually nag-accumulate yan. Ayun. If you're gonna use yung mga organic solvents, especially sa RSL dito, marami kaming ganun dito. If you're going to use those, medyo ingat na lang. Kasi, especially DCM, yung mga ganun. Kasi, yun nga, those are very cancerous, especially on long-term exposures. Yun yung alam, magkaka-cancer na pala kayo. Okay, next slide. Excuse me. Identifying hazardous substances. So, obviously, yung yung haz waste na to, itong label na to is makikita siya sa any bote na pinrocure natin. Nakadikit yan sa harap ng bote. Pwede naman ako magpakita ng example. Wait. Ito. Kita ba sa camera? Kita ba sa camera? Ayun, basically yung harap nung bote, nandun nakalagay yung product full name, identity, or proportion of each element. Hazard pictograms, ito yung medyo nadaanan naman na ni Ma'am Oxy, yung GHS pictograms. Details of manufacturer and importer, nakasulat din dyan. And then, yun, signal word relating to greatest hazard, in this case of flammability pictogram and hazard statements. Sa likod, ayun, actually meron kang mini MSDS pagbabasahin mo yung nakalagay dun sa bote. Nakalagay na dyan yung mga statement response, let's say if nagkaroon ng contact sa'yo, on skin, if naswallow mo. So, pwede mo siyang magamit din for your information regarding the chemical na makikita ninyo. So before na magkaroon ng GHS, dati sobrang gulo ng sistema. For itong picture na to is for flammability symbol. Bali, yung flammable, let's say for example itong hawak ko, acetonitrile, yung kanina kong pinakita. It's actually a flammable solvent. So obviously, ito yun. If you can see the camera. Ito, nakikita nyo ba to? Ituturo ko.
Oo, nakikita namin. Nakikita.
Nakikita nyo? May katabi pa akong chemical dito. So, dati yung mga picture na yan is iba-iba yan per country. So, yun nga, tinanong ko kunyari sa Japan, ang weird ng itsura, maintindihan mo nating flammable yan. So, nagkaroon tayo ng globally harmonized system kung saan magiging isa na lang lahat ng designation for all the risks ng isang chemical. Ito yung after the GHS. Ngayon, 3, 6, 9. So, there are 9 pictures na ginagamit sa GHS ngayon. Bali, i-discuss ko siya from bottom, left, pa-diagonal. So, yung health hazards, ito yung mga chemicals that usually are carcinogens or it can produce reproductive or organ toxicity. Yung pag na-inhale mo siya, masama sa kalusugan mo. Minsan ito rin yung mga chemical na nakakabaog pag nalalanghap mo, nalidissolve. Usually mga solvents to, yung mga volatile sa air. Tapos pag nasisinghot mo nang hindi mo alam, yun, may mga impacts na yun on your health. Tapos yung kasunod, flame over circle. Ito magkaiba to, pero magkalang silang parehas. Yung isa may circle, yung isa wala. Yung flame over circle, ang tawag doon ay yung mga oxidizers. Yung mga oxidizers, usually yun yung mga sumasabog, explosives. Pero may iba pang explosives. Pero yun nga, oxidants are usually reactive that may cause explosions. Usually health-related din siya kasi if we ingest yun nga, mga oxidants, it may cause yung mga radicals sa body natin na mag-react. And if it reacts with the radicals in our body, it can trigger cell destructions and mutations. Yung mutation, actually, cell mutation may cause cancer. So yeah. Yung pangatlo sa first row, flammable. Flammable, obviously, as the name suggests, it emits flammable gas. Mabilis siyang lumayab if ever man na magkaroon siya ng, medyo adverse yung reaction niya in terms of flames. Tapos, corrosion, yun na dito sa baba ng flammable. Skin damage yan. Let's say, pag natapunan ka, mangangati yung kamay mo, malalapnos, or something like that. It is usually seen on acids. So yung, for example, HCl, sino ba naman sa ating hindi pa naka-handle ng HCl, hydrochloric acid? Ayun, hydrochloric acid, usually, pag natapunan ka nun, parang mainit sa kamay, tapos yun nga, there are irritating feeling, ganon. Yun, corrosion yun. Yung sumunod, yun nasa pinakagitna, environment. Ito yung mga pag natapon sa environment may cause toxicity on the environment. Let's say yung mga pesticides. Yun, medyo maraming ganon din dito sa atin. Sa NSRI, marami rin pesticides dito, especially dito sa RSL. Yung mga pesticides na yun are, if disposed ng mali, nade-dissolve yun sa air, and then those are very, very persistent. Hindi yun basta-basta nagde-degrade. So, ang hirap nun mawala sa environment. And sumasama yun sa flow ng environment, especially sa food chain, and ayun, na bumabalik din sa atin. So, tayo rin yung malalagot sa sarili natin kamalian if hindi natin siya na-dispose ng tama regarding environment. Ngayon, yung sumunod, skull with crossbones. Ito naman yung mga very fatal, yung mga very acute na related with health. Bali kung medyo mamimislead siya kasi merong health hazard, meron na nga skull and crossbones. Pinagkaiba lang nito is yung skull and crossbones are usually for acute stuff. Yun yung mga, pag nagkaroon ka ng contact is agad-agad mag-seek ka agad ng medical help kasi malaki ang impact nito sa katawan mo if ever you have a contact with this. Yung sumunod, gas cylinder, those are usually ito yung mga, meron ba? Hindi ko maigalaw yung camera ko dun sa may tank. Pero ito yung mga tangke, ito yung mga high pressure hazards na pag mali yung storage, bigla na lang nag-leak or yung mga sumasabog-sabog na mga gas. Dito merong helium dito. Saka yung mga acetylene tank. Pero hindi ko siya sa camera. Ayoko, didalhin ko pa yung laptop ko dun. Tapos yung sumunod, explosives. Ito yung nandun sa gitna na kanan. Yung explosives naman, those are usually yung mga, as the name suggests, self-reactive siya. Ito yung mga nitrates. Ito yung mga usually kinokontrol ng PNP, yung mga nitrate salt, tsaka yung mga nitrate solutions. Ito yon. Exclamation mark, ito naman yung mga irritant, tsaka yung may mga narcotic effects sa katawan ng tao. Bali, this GHS has been regularized ng DENR sa Philippines noong 2015. Bali, di ko alam kung anong scenario natin before 2015. Pero dati, ang sabi daw ay iba-ibang uri daw ng pictograms ang pumapasok sa Pilipinas before. Pero ngayon, simula ng 2015, bali DENR Administrative Order 2015-9, sabi, meron silang parang implementation na gamitin yung GHS sa kahit anong chemical na papasok sa bansa. So if nakita kayo ng bote na from supplier na walang GHS, obviously illegal yun. Kasi dapat pumpasado yun sa DENR standards. So check nyo agad. Pag nakita kayo kunyari, nag-procure kayo, may dumating na delivery, gano'n, check nyo agad yung bote kung meron mga ganyan. Next. Yung next slide naman is about National Fire Protection Association. Ito naman yung 4 na box na makikita nyo sa MSDS if ever you browse the MSDS. Ngayon, MSDS are very, it's more detailed compared din sa mga nakasulat din sa bote ng solution natin. Ngayon, ito naman is nakahati sa 4 na kulay. Yung blue is health, red is for fire hazards, yung puti is specific, yung yellow is reactivity. Kaya nakalagay naman dyan kung paano siya nirate. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. O 4 naman ang pinaka-max. Okay. Ito yung bibigyan ko na lang kayo, medyo pinasahan na rin ito ni mga kanina. Ito yung medyo detailed part, medyo step-by-step basis, or medyo procedural yung itsura niya. Storage of large reagent containers should be kept to a minimum. This must be stored in a low shelf, preferably in a tray, to contain spills and leakages. So, bali, yung mga pinagagamitan natin na bottle, actually recommended dito yung mga waste bottles natin. Recommended dito yung mga recommended as waste bottles natin, yung mga pinagamitan natin bottle. Let's say for example, itong hawak kanina acetonitrile, tapos naubos na natin siya. Syempre yung bote, it can be treated as a, hazardous na already because syempre lagyan nga siya ng waste before. Para ma-maximize niya, sa kanya na ilalagay yung waste. So, ang mangyayari is like, yun nga, acetonitrile waste, kumbaga ang pwedeng i-label sa kanya. Tapos, number 2, never store liquid above waste level. Obvious naman, medyo self-explanatory naman yan. Store water-reactive chemicals away from water sources, aqueous chemicals, and for sprinklers. So, bali, ito naman, sure if may gumamit dito ng sodium metal, potassium, parang wala namang gumagamit sa atin. Kasi sa general idea lang naman. Kasi those type of metals may react with water. Actually, aside from those alkali metals, medyo wala na akong idea kung ano pa yung iba pang chemicals na water reactive actually. Kasi yun lang yung pinaka-alam ko na chemicals na yun nga, adverse yung effects niya whenever it has been in contact with water. Kasi when they're in contact, the chemical reaction between them produces hydrogen gas. Yung hydrogen gas, we all know that sobrang explosive niya kasi ang taas ng enthalpy niya. Anyway, yun nga. Obviously, medyo for the general idea lang naman. Since I don't think naman na meron sa ating gumagamit ng mga metals na yun. Number 4, when storing in a refrigerator, label with the name of material and date placed in the refrigerator. Always keep an inventory. Seal and double package the chemical. Also self-explanatory na din siya. Do not store oxidizers, flammables, and volatile chemicals in the refrigerator. Do not store food. Ayun nga, meron cases na may nangyayaring ganun. Pag pinapalamig yung pagkain, nagagamit yung ref ng lab. Pag nawag po natin gagawin yun, kasi kahit naka-sealed yung mga chemicals, hindi natin alam, mamaya meron pala nagkakayaring volatilization sa mga chemicals na nag-spread lang siya, naglalakbay lang siya sa loob ng ref as gaseous particles na dumidikit pala sa pagkain natin, hindi natin alam. So for our safety, wag na lang natin gawin. Excuse me. Do not store incompatible chemicals in close proximity to each other. Itong mga incompatible chemicals na to, may marami itong list na to. Pwede nyo siyang makita with this link. Ayun. Incompatible chemicals list you may visit ito yung link or other websites for
Hello, nawala po.
Hello, Adriel? Adriel? Pwedeng may ibang mag-share? Christine? Sige, habang inaayos ni Adriel, pwede pong mag-bathroom break. Sandali lang, no? Diyan ka na ba?
Try ko lang po. Okay na po ba?
Gusto mong mag-break muna?
Okay lang po.
Sige. Break lang po ng 5 minutes. Balik po tayo ng 9:40. Okay lang ba? Ayusin lang yung ano. Okay.
Okay po.
Pero okay na po. Malinaw na.
Sige lang, mag-break lang muna tayo ng 5 minutes.
Okay po. Nangyari sa internet ko. Medyo mahina yung ay shit, naka-on yung camera ko.
Yung video walang bayad, no?
Oo, wala.
Pareho.
Pati yung mic nyo, Adriel, naka-on. Naririnig pa kayo yung usapan nyo.
Ay, sorry.
Naririnig yung chismisan nyo.
Narinig Ate Christine. Sipag namin, 7 pa lang nandito na kami. Uy.
Okay, in 1 minute, we will resume. Ay, wala na palang. We will resume. Pwede na tayo, Adriel. Are we all here? Pwede bang marinig ang mga boses ng mga participants?
No po.
Hello, participants.
Hello,
Hello po.
Ayan, gising pa tayo, no? Okay, so Adriel will continue the discussion.
Okay po, okay po. So, okay na po ba? Start na po ba tayo? So, incompatible chemicals, yun nga, as I have mentioned earlier, yung nitric acid is obviously medyo widely used po siya dito sa NSRI. So, alcohols commonly used ng mga ethanol, isopropanol, and any type of alcohols na ginagamit natin. Methanol, ayun, hindi pa puro methanol yung nasa likod ko. Solvents, yun, yung mga organic solvents na usually common natin na-encounter sa lab. I'll give an example na lang. Nitric acid and ethanol are usually, when they are reacted, they produce acetaldehyde and NO2. Yung NO2, that's a very toxic gas. So, kumakalat lang yun sa hangin, and if na-inhale mo siya, ang impact nun sa inyo is very harmful. So, they shouldn't be placed together, yung nitric acid and alcohol. Sa solvent naman, ang example ko dyan is acetic acid. Obviously, kala natin suka lang siya. Pero, if it's in contact with nitric acid, they produce NO2 again. Yung NO2 yun nga, it's a very toxic gas na if inhale natin, it gives us a super risk sa katawan natin na actually pwede tayong mamatay doon. Sabi nga sa studies, yun nga, 150 ppm nung 30 minutes exposure ng NO2 gas may result to yung mga asphyxia, yung mga hindi ka makahinga, fatal pulmonary edema, mga ganon. So that's for general knowledge na lang rin, na yung NO2 gas, we avoid creating that as a byproduct reaction. Also, yung nitric acid, medyo marami siyang ayaw. Pag mag-store kayo ng nitric acid, actually, ang pinaka-suggestion is mag-store kayo ng nitric acid na alone lang siya. Kasi yun yung ginagawa namin dito sa RASL. Yung nitric acid is like may sarili siyang cabinet. Ayun, tapos na double lock din siya since we are compliant with the PNP regulatory body. Nasasabihin naman siguro ni Ate Christine. Anyway, yung nitric acid, obviously, nagre-react din siya sa other solvents like, let's say, ano pa bang solvent? Yun, glycerol. Siguro may gumagamit sa inyo ng glycerol. Nitric acid plus glycerol can give you nitroglycerin. If you have heard of nitroglycerin is like yung mga primary reagents sa mga dynamites. So ayaw naman natin na may mga pumuputok na dinamita dito sa NSRI. So we avoid that. Also, yung toluene, if may gumagamit sa inyo ng toluene, yun, nitric acid plus toluene may create trinitrotoluene. Yung trinitrotoluene na yun is like, yun yung mga primary ingredients ng mga bombs. So, iniwasan, yung mga TNT, if you have heard TNT bombs, yun. So, we avoid those reactions. So, as much as possible, when we handle nitric acid, we keep it away from other alcohols and solvents. Ito naman is obviously for, siguro sa mga janitors or sa, common to yung mga bleach and ammonia. Bleach and ammonia are very drastic if na-combine silang dalawa. Bleach is sodium hypochlorite. Tapos pag i-react mo siya sa ammonia, it produces NH2Cl, which is a very toxic chemical as well. So para siyang NO2 din, very toxic din siya. Also, if mag-react yung bleach sa acid, it produces yung mga toxic gases na colorless lang siya. Hindi natin alam may nangyayari na pala. So parang galaw-galaw pa tayo. Tapos yung pala, nasisinghotin natin yung mga colorless gases na, it may pose a risk to us. Also, this nitric acid plus hydrazine, if may gumagamit ng hydrazine dito, yung hydrazine usually yun yung mga ginagamit na propellant. So, explosive din siya pag pinaghalo sa nitric acid. And this, hydrogen peroxide and sulfuric acid or acetic acid. Hydrogen peroxide, napaka-common neto sa lab. Pretty sure gumagamit kayo neto. So, yun nga, hydrogen peroxide sulfuric acid and acetic acid. Hydrogen oxide, bali mas nagiging mas mamataas yung oxygen level nila. So mas nagiging oxidizer sila to the point that it becomes very reactive. Any type of chemical na magkaroon ng contact sa kanya, nagkakaroon agad ng reaction.
Nawawala po.
Adriel? Bakit nawawala? Adriel? Adriel? Christine? Pwedeng mag-share si... Hello, sorry ha. Pwedeng mag-share si Choi. Nakanino yung ibang PowerPoint? Adriel, Tin? Hello?
Anyway,
ka muna kayang mag-video, Adriel.
Medyo
Stop video. Stop video mo na lang, pero yun na lang.
Medyo basahin ko na lang itong ibang part.
Oh, sige. Okay.
Okay na po.
Choppy, ma'am? Choppy?
Chemical. Wait. Punta ako dito. Malinaw na po ba?
Yan.
Ayan. So, yung number one, read and understand the MSDS of the chemical. If you're really unsure of the chemical, you can check the MSDS of this chemical on websites. Medyo available naman siya. And even on suppliers, medyo may ibibigay naman sila ng mga kung ano-anong details regarding that chemical they are sending to you. Number two, label all containers and chemicals clearly. Do not use substances from unlabeled or doubtingly labeled container. So, ito usually nangyayari to sa lab. Like for example, nagmamadali tayo, we are separating solutions. Paglipat natin sa bote, nakakalimot namin i-label. Ngayon, pag kinabukasan, tapos parang sure, ano to eh, parang ano to eh, parang ano yung laman ito eh. If ganun yung scenario, wag mo nang gamitin kasi syempre, you are not alone in the lab. Baka may ibang taong gumalaw na nung bote na ginawa mo. If it is unlabeled. Number three, use fume hoods when using chemicals which evolve toxic or noxious gases. Fume hoods, yun yung kaninang nasa likod ko. Yun yung yun yung para siyang enclosed space na humihigop siya ng mga volatile parts ng solution natin whenever we do our experiment dun sa loob nun. So, ang tendency, hindi natin maaamoy yung chemical. Number four, when testing for odors, waft vapors toward the nose. So, pinaka-recommended ito because if you are going to smell yung mga chemicals directly, mas malaki exposure sa'yo. So, it is really recommended na i-waft na lang natin siya towards our nose para mas less yung exposure natin towards that chemical. Number five, wear impervious gloves when handling solvents. Ito nasabi natin yung Oxy. There are different types of gloves regarding kung paano siya hahawakan. Kung ano, iba depende dun sa usage natin. Number six, when diluting chemicals, pure concentrated solutions slowly while stirring to dissipate evolved heat. Ito yung mga solutions na highly exothermic yung iniiwasan natin na pag naglalagay tayo ng dilution doon sa solution, umiinit siya. So, ang tendency nun, pag alam natin na may nangyayaring ganun, yun nga, slowly natin gawin. Or, mas magandang scenario, nakalagay natin, hindi ko siya nasulat dito sa PowerPoint, pero pinaka-suggested na ginagawa namin dito is like, whenever you add yun nga, nagdi-dilute ka, especially yung mga chromic acid solutions, yun. Pag nagde-dilute ka, ibabad mo yung solution sa isang cold bath while doing that para para maiwasan natin yung pagbuo ng heat dun sa buong solution. Kasi syempre, if binadali natin yun, ang tendency nun, magugulat yung solution, iinit ng sobra to the point na mag-crack yung glass. And we really avoid that type of accident. Number 7, when unsure of a chemical reaction, add the reagent slowly and minutely. Wait for a few minutes to observe a reaction, then add again. These are usually applicable on titrations. Ito yung mga, yun nga, since hindi mo pa sure kung ano yung endpoint, mabagal-bagalan mo muna. Which is, I think na-encounter na naman na to on your college days. Number 8, always cool flasks and beakers containing hot or boiling liquids before adding chemicals. Ito yung sinasuggest ko earlier, like, if you're handling with hot and yung mga exothermic mixtures, it is very recommended na nakababad sila sa cool bath para ma-stabilize natin yung pag-init ng glass. Kasi yun nga, if sobrang init na ng glass, nasisira yun. Number 9, when carrying large bottles of hazardous chemicals, use impact-resistant transport containers to protect from breakage and contain spillage. Medyo obvious na yun. Hindi pa. Malapit na. Chemical spillage. Ay, rinig pala. Immediately alert fellow workers and supervise. Ito naman yung just in case magkaroon ng spillage dito sa lab. Avoid skin contact and minimize inhalation. Remove contaminated clothing and wash skin with soap and water. Flush the skin for 15 minutes or more. Ito yung mga procedural methods if ever nagkaroon tayo ng spillage dun sa lab natin. Syempre, hindi naman natin naiiwasan yun. It happens. So, these are the precautionary measures we do. If chemical is not particularly volatile and is now fire hazard, proceed cleanup operations as stated in the MSDS. If the chemical is volatile, toxic, and flammable, warn everyone immediately to extinguish flames and turn off spark-producing equipment. Ito naman yun nga sinabi ko sa inyo. Yun yung mga chemicals na bigla na lang nag-vaporize sa hangin na hindi natin alam. So, syempre, since obviously the gas particles are like nagta-travel everywhere. So, gas particles are nagta-travel everywhere. So, we really avoid na magkaroon ng contact yung mga particles na yun with those spark-producing equipments kasi they might have unwanted reaction with each other. Shut down all equipment and vacate the area until it is decontaminated. So, yun nga, since there are other people in the lab, it is recommended that you inform everyone para na may natapong ganito na baka ito ay mag-evaporate and everyone can sniff that chemical. So, mas maganda na umalis na lang muna lahat. For small liquid spills, which is preferably less than 100 ml, this can be absorbed using paper towels except for flammable, sand, or absorbent. Ito naman yung mga common spills natin. Usually less than 100 ml lang naman yung mga natatapon sa atin. Kaya yung mga natatapon sa atin, usually tinitissue-tissue lang natin. So, pwede yun. That's legal naman. And, yun nga, as long as we use gloves and we don't contaminate the area nang maayos, pwede yun. Solid spills can be brushed up and disposed in an appropriate waste containers. Do not leave paper towels or other materials used to clean up spills in open trash cans in the work area. Ayun, ito naman yung mga specific spillage if ever nagkaroon ng contact on skin. So for spills covering small area of the skin, flush immediately with water for 15 minutes or more. Remove clothing and accessories adjacent to spilled area to facilitate removal of any residual materials. For delayed effects, consult MSDS and seek medical attention immediately. So yun nga, sabi ko earlier, MSDS contains yung mga pinaka-detailed info regarding that chemical, especially kung magkaroon ng contact on yun, sa mga gumagamit ng chemical na yun. For larger spills, quickly remove all contaminated clothing, accessories while using the shower. If possible, cut the garments off. Be careful not to contaminate the eyes. Flood the affected body area with cold water for 15 minutes or more. Do not use creams or lotions and seek medical attention immediately. Ayun, medyo parehas lang naman siya.
Pag eyes naman, ito naman ang sabi. A minimum of 20-minute flush of the eye is recommended. Eyeballs should be rotated and eyelids must be forcibly kept open. And also call for emergency medical assistance din. Ngayon, nandito tayo sa waste management systems. Ngayon, sa waste management systems, apat ang ginagamit na waste management systems. Reduction or control of source, waste minimization. Usually, itong mga waste minimization natin is like, kung ano lang yung gagamit natin, yun lang yung kunin natin. Yun lang i-procure natin kung ano lang yung gagamitin natin para makaiwas tayo sa mga excess reagents. Kasi yung mga excess reagents are actually hazardous na din. Recovery, recycling, and reuse of chemicals or hazardous wastes. So ito nga, syempre we cannot really avoid yung mga excess natin. So we tend to recycle and reuse yung mga chemicals na yon. Number 3, treatment of hazardous waste to render it harmless. Ito naman, 3 and 4 are actually not done in NSRI. Ito yung sinabi earlier ni Ma'am Oxy na kukuha tayo ng accredited transporter and treater to to facilitate kung paano yung tamang deactivation and kung paano yung tamang pagtapon ng wastes natin. So ito, kung ano yung NSRI waste management plan? Isa sa mga waste management plan natin is yung chemical exchange program. Bali, sa chemical exchange program, ito yung sinabi ko earlier that we intend to reuse yung mga chemicals na excess natin ng mga lab natin. So yun nga, render unneeded chemicals from one laboratory still usable for another laboratory. So ang nangyayari dito is like yung mga excess from your projects, kung ano-anong pwede pang magamit na ibang chemicals, especially yung mga salts, since they are stable through time, pwede mo siyang isurrender dito sa amin sa RASL. Bali, para magkaroon kami ng inventory over that. Tapos, isasama namin siya sa chemical exchange program. Ngayon, ito namang program na to is available for the general public. So, ang mangyayari dito is like, kung ano yung kailangan ng public, let's say mga students ng ibang school, gano'n, pwede silang mag-procure dito ng chemicals na kung ano lang yung kailangan nila. Yun, may mga price list din tayo and may mga list din tayo ng available chemicals na pwede nilang makita. Ito yung procedure. Check the availability of chemicals by calling NSRI office 36088 ito yung sa RASL or emailing cswma.nsri.ph. Ngayon, prepare a letter of request noted by project leader or thesis advisor containing the following information. Bali, pag from NSRI kayo, hindi nyo na kailangan to. Pwede nyo na i-bypass yung letter of request. Sabihin nyo lang kami kung may kailangan kayo dun sa availability ng chemicals. Ngayon, I am not sure if yung nandun sa website ng NSRI is updated. Pero pwede nyo kaming i-contact either ako or si Ate Christine or si Kuya Verge just in case you want to know kung ano yung mga available chemicals na meron dito sa exchange program natin. So yun, proceed to 134. Ito yung 134. Ito yung office ng RASL. Tapos look for the CSW. May ako yun. Yun nga, or either of the PCOs. Tapos, yun nga, kayo yung magdadala ng properly labeled containers nyo. And pay the fees, ito bypass din to since we are inside the NSRI as well. Ayun. Nagbebenta tayo ng chemicals at the low price. Parang ganun. Parang ganun, pero tingi-tingi lang siya. Well, yung mga tira-tira natin sa mga projects natin before, ginagamit na, nire-recycle natin. At the same time, kumikita pa tayo, di ba? Win-win siya. So, chemical disposal, labeling all containers containing such, ito skip ko na to since na-discuss na to ni Ma'am Oxy. Ngayon, itong flowchart na lang yung ipapakita ko sa inyo. So within the flowchart, kasi meron kasi tayong collection of wastes just in case na kunyari marami na kayong waste in your area. Pwede, since kami yung nagko-collect ng wastes, kami dito, yun nga, para kami rin yung may contact dun sa waste treaters. So kung medyo feeling na bulky na yung waste storage nyo, pwede nyo kami i-contact para i-collect namin yung mga waste nyo para isama na namin sa inventory for hauling ng buong wastes ng NSRI. So una, do you know the contents of your waste bottle you want us to collect? If yes, ayun, go to room 134, care of Verge, or either si Kuya Verge, Ate Christine, or ako, and get the necessary forms. Bali may forms dyan, which is papakita ko next slide. If no, i-ask nyo kung sino yung gumawa ng chemicals na yun. Yun, unknown wastes won't be collected. So, dapat napangalanan natin kung anong wastes yan. Kasi we are really compliant with the ENR. So, kung ano yung mga waste na ipapahaul at ipapatreat natin with the treater, dapat alam natin kung ano yung mga yun. So, bago nyo kami i-contact, dapat alam nyo na kung ano yung mga chemicals na ipapakuha na sa amin. Ngayon, sa baba ng yes, return request collection form and confirm the date and time of collection. Ayun, medyo straightforward na. Bali, ito yung forms na ginagamit natin for chemical disposal. Bali, itong mga forms na to is, I think this is available on the NSRI website. You can just check it kung for copies, for Word file copies of these type of documents. Bali, ang isusulat nyo lang dito ay yun, requested by, project leader, project title, designation position, NSRI room number, date, obviously. Yung HASWASTE number, HW number, kahit kami na yung maglagay nito. Name or composition of chemical wastes. Ito yung kailangang specific kayo. Dapat specific na alam nyo kung ano yung laman ng bote na ipapakuha nyo sa amin. Concentration, you can just skip this. Physical state, obviously, alam naman natin kung paano mag-determine kung solid or liquid or gas yung ipapakolect natin. Quantity of volume, dapat alam nyo rin to kung gaano ka. Pero it is suggested that kahit approximate lang, pwede na. Ayun. And then yung nasa kanan naman na form is like, ito yung ginagamit natin sa pag-label ng mga wastes natin. Kahit kami na yung gumawa nito actually. Bali, ang pinaka-concern nyo na lang is yung nasa kaliwa. Request for collection of chemical wastes. Especially if you intend for us to, isama namin yung waste nyo dun sa inventory ng buong NSRI. So ito yung mga HASWASTE classifications. Bali kami na actually yung bahala dito. Pero just for the clear idea, for the general idea for everyone, i-report namin itong mga HASWASTE na to sa DNR with these codes. So again, we are really specific. Oh my God, nag-off ako.
Christine, pwedeng ipagpatuloy mo? Christine? Hello? Christine? Hello, Christine? Adriel? Sandali po ha, pahintay lang. Na-disconnect yata sila. Maghanap ka na lang ng tab dyan. Hello, Christine? Hello?
Hello po, ako na bali, yung
Okay.
nangyari na off kasi yung laptop ko. I'm so sorry with that with that technical error. Bali actually yung kanina ko po na part na pinapakita ko yung HASWASTE codes. That's actually my last slide. So I didn't bother to turn on my laptop na lang since si Ate Christine naman na yung kasunod. So yun nga, bali yung first part, yung pinakita kong slide earlier is like the list of yung mga HASWASTE codes na sinasubmit namin sa DNR. So basically, we have to be very specific about every type of chemical na ipapahol natin sa treater. And every reporting po, nire-report po yun, as I've said earlier, on a quarterly basis po. So, yun nga, those inventory must be very tallied on those hazardous codes. Bali yun na lang po yun na yung last slide ng akin. So yung kasunod na po is si Ate Christine. Thank you po.
Okay na? Wait lang po. Saan na, Adriel? Saan ako? Share screen. Ayan. Ay! Ha? Bakit nawala? Ayan. So, good morning po sa inyong lahat. Wait lang. Nakaano to, Adriel? Hindi na. Hindi ko na nasagot. Yung isang RE ko, Choy, kasi yung...
Hindi pa pinagan mo.
Okay. Sige, hindi ko na nasagot. Okay ka na, tapos na. Okay po. So, ako na, susunod kayo. Okay na. So, good morning po. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Bali, i-discuss ko po sa inyo yung mga laws and regulations related to chemicals. So, ang NSRI ay nagko-comply to some local regulatory bodies, in particular po yung PNP, PDEA, tsaka DENR-EMB. So, bale po, before tayo maka-purchase at makagamit ng mga chemicals na to, we have to comply with the requirements needed for PDEA and PNP controlled chemicals. Okay, so first we have, So first we have PNP controlled chemicals. New implementing rules and regulations on controlled chemicals pursuant to PD number 1866 as amended by RE 9516 was implemented since August 2016. Okay, RE 9516 amended provisions of PD 1866 by one subsection, section 4-D states that the types of chemicals or accessories covered exclusively refer to chlorates, nitrates, nitric acid, and such other chemicals and accessories that can be used for the manufacture of explosives or explosive ingredients. Ngayon, yung bagong IRR ay na-create dahil karamihan kasi ng mga PNP-controlled chemicals dun sa old law ay mga chemicals used by industries. And yung pag-secure ng license and permits using yung lumang law is very tedious and very difficult siya. Very difficult yung process. Kaya nagkaroon ng bagong IRR on PNP-controlled chemicals. Okay. So yung tayo dito sa NSRI, kailangan natin ng license and permit before we can possess and purchase PNP-controlled chemicals for lawful purposes. So as an end user and a purchaser, meron tayong purchaser's license, which cost 5,000 pesos per renewal. So yung validity nito is 1 year. Kaya yung PNP license, ina-apply yan annually. Okay? So besides yung license, kailangan din natin ng PPMCC or Permit to Purchase and Move Controlled Chemicals from the supplier's storage to the purchaser's storage. So yung cost naman ito is 1,500 per purchase per movement, and its validity is only good for 2 months. Okay. So before mag-purchase ng PNP controlled chemicals, okay, we have to make sure, kailangan makicommunicate dun sa supplier and make sure that the supplier has also a valid PPMCC and merong stock ng chemical na bibilhin. Okay? So, based dun sa bagong IRR, yung originally merong around 100 na PNP controlled chemicals. However, dun sa bagong IRR nga, more than 50 of these controlled chemicals were delisted. And ang natira na lang, merong 32 na PNP controlled chemicals which were categorized to high risk and low risk. Okay, so ito yung mga high risk PNP controlled chemicals. Meron tayo dito. So example niyan yung ammonium nitrate. Okay. So nitric acid greater than 3%, potassium permanganate, and so on. For the low risk controlled chemicals naman, okay, ito yon, may mga chlorates, nitrates, and meron din tayong hydrogen peroxide, for example. So usually in the lab, ang ginagamit natin ay 30% hydrogen peroxide, which is considered as a low risk PNP controlled chemical. So lahat ng nasa list na to, kailangan nandun sa ating license. So kung may mga bago pong projects, if there are new projects, tapos if you're going to use yung mga nasa list na to, mga chemicals na nasa list na to, you have to inform us. Dahil kailangan nandun siya sa license. Kasi kung wala sa license, hindi natin siya mabibili. Okay, so ang mangyayari nun, kasi kung may bagong idadagdag na chemical, aside from renewal, kailangan i-amend din natin yung ating license. And aside from that, since we have a new director kasi, magkakaroon din tayo ng amendment for our PNP license. Ay, sorry. Nawala yun. Yun. So for PNP controlled chemicals, tayo as user must submit a monthly consumption report sa PNP. So si Adriel yung gumagawa ng ating MCR and kailangan notarize. And sinasubmit siya every 15th of the month online. Online. Next, we have PDEA controlled precursors and essential chemicals or CPECs, which are under RE 9165. So, ito yung mga, we have here the list of PDEA controlled chemicals. So, NSRI is under the P3 and P6 licenses, okay, as an end user and a research and laboratory facility. So, P license yung meron tayo for the PDEA. And as you can see here, ang mga meron tayo sa ating license, we have, tama ba, acetone, we have hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, toluene, potassium permanganate, and ethyl ether meron din, tsaka acetic anhydride. So since meron tayong license, we can procure these chemicals unlimited. So kahit ilan pwede nating bilhin. Okay, so ayan, so before, nung wala pa tayong license, ay ba't nawala? Wala, ayaw? Wala. Okay, ayun. So before po, nung wala pa tayong license, nakakabili din tayo ng PDEA controlled chemicals according to Section 21-2 of the Board Regulations number 1, series of 2014 of the Dangerous Drugs Board. Okay, so as ang isang licensed seller, pwede siyang magbenta sa isang regular or known customer as long as yung threshold ng mga chemicals na nandito sa table na to ay masusunod. So for example, walang license, yung acetone pwedeng ibenta ng licensed seller sa isang buyer or purchaser na walang PDEA license as long as a total of 5 liters for a duration of 1 month yung limit ng bibilhin ng purchaser. So pwedeng bilhin niya for a single transaction or pwedeng multiple transactions yan. Konti-konti, 1 liter, pero dapat a total of 5 liters for 1 month. Okay, so before, ginagawa yon, pero ngayon, since may license na tayo, pwede na tayong bumili kahit ilan. So tama ito ba yung mga meron tayo? So just like po yung sa PNP, for PDEA controlled chemicals, meron ding record keeping of the usage of these controlled chemicals. Kaya lang, instead na monthly, yung submission naman for PDEA controlled chemicals, semi-annually yung submission ng report. Kaya tinatawag na semi-annual report. So for the PDEA, again, si Adriel yung nagko-collect nung usage record from the different labs. And it will be submitted. Ang submission usually ay January 15, tsaka July 15. Okay, so every 6 months yan. So online na din yung submission, di ba? Tama, for the PDEA. So yung PDEA natin is renewed na. Okay, so kung merong mga magpro-procure, we have a PDEA license. And ang validity niya is until June 2021 na lang po. So, after that, i-renew naman po ulit. Okay? Ayun. So, yung last is yung DEN or EMB Priority Chemical List or PCL, which is under RE 6969. Na na-discuss na kanina ni Adriel. Okay? So, it is the policy of DENR to regulate, restrict, or prohibit the importation, manufacture, processing, sale, distribution, use, and disposal of chemical substances and mixtures that present unreasonable risk and or injury to health of or the environment. So, merong 48 chemicals under the PCL. Mahirap for EMB to assess kung ang isang chemical ba ay PCL. Okay? But meron silang 3 criteria para ma-assess nila yung toxicity or hazard ng isang PCL chemical. First, we have bioaccumulation, or the bioaccumulation potential of the chemical, which is the substance ability to bioaccumulate in the food chain. Second is its toxicity potential. Okay, kung may acute, it's the quality of a substance which meets any of the following criteria: acute lethality, chronic or sublethal toxicity, teratogenicity, and carcinogenicity. And lastly is its persistence in the environment. Okay? So, ang NSRI, gumagamit din tayo ng mga priority PCL chemicals. So, For example, yung mga trace metals like mga lead, mercury, arsenic, yun. That's why, since under siya ng RE 6969, kailangan din ma-monitor yung usage natin ng chemicals na to. And sinasubmit yung, kailangan mag-submit ng self-monitoring report every quarter. Okay, so lahat-lahat yon. Okay. So, seven of these PCL chemicals are under chemical control order. Okay. So, the DENR EMB regulates, controls, restricts or prohibits the importation, manufacture, processing, sale, distribution, handling, use, transport, and disposal of chemical substances mixtures under RE 6969. So, ito yung mga chemicals na kailangan ng chemical control order. Kung bibili tayo, so we can see here who should apply to CCO. Mga importers, distributors, manufacturers, industrial users, which includes mga laboratory facilities, recyclers, waste service providers, yun, mga transporters, treaters, and disposers. Yan. So if we are going to, for example, bibili tayo ng arsenic or arsenic compounds, like kung kailangan natin ng arsenic standard, we have to apply for a chemical control order sa EMB. So karamihan naman to mga online applications na during this time. Okay? Okay. So, meron po bang questions regarding yung mga regulations? Ha? Yung? Okay, sige. So, paano ko ano to? Hindi ko makita eh. Yung chat. Ay. Meron ba? Wala. Okay, so kung walang questions.
Walang questions sa chat natin.
May
Okay.
tanong po ba kayo either sa presentation ko or sa presentation ni Ate Christine? Meron po ba?
Meron lang akong i-clear.
Sige lang po.
Kasi sabi mo kanina na pwede na mag-procure kasi meron tayong permit ng PDEA at PNP.
Yung meron lang po, sorry Kuya Alvin, yung meron lang po for now is PDEA.
PDEA.
Opo.
Since
Yung PNP po makulit
diba? At any rate kasi nasabi na rin lang, di ba meron tayong marching order na ang pwede lang bumili ng chemicals na to, mga controlled chemicals, dapat merong laboratory sa NSRI. Pag wala silang lab sa NSRI, sorry po, hindi namin kayo hindi pwedeng gamitin yung permit ng NSRI.
Opo, dapat within the building lang
within the building lang. Kasi pag bibili po, dapat yung chemical na bibilhin, within NSRI lang siya i-store. And dito gagamitin, tapos yung chemical waste na ma-generate, dito lang din po siya. Okay, hanggang sa maipatreat na natin yung mga chemical waste na yon.
Saka additional info po, if nagkakaroon po kasi ng mga inspections, yung either PDEA or PNP sa facilities po ng NSRI, bali nagko-conduct po sila ng inspection. Yung PDEA is actually on random times, yung PNP po is either kung kailan po tayo nagre-renew ng license. Bali nung sa time po na mag-i-inspect sila, ang hinahanap po nila is yung mga, yun nga, yung mga chemicals na controlled. So basically, if hindi nagtali yung nandun sa record keeping natin and yung mga na-inspect nila, medyo lagot po tayo doon. So kung sino man po na may plano na mag-procure ng chemicals within the licenses of NSRI, dapat po within the premises of NSRI lang siya magagamit para may traceability po tayo kung nasa na yung chemical na yun. Ayun lang po.
Okay, so I think maliwanag naman yun, ano? Kung halimbawa, actually, kung associated with an institute outside NSRI, let's say IESM or NIP or IB, hindi nyo ipaprocess, tama? Ang purchase request?
Tama, ma'am. Hindi po namin kasi meron silang sariling permit ng mga yan.
Okay, so lahat nun. Kahit na NSRI funded project yan, kung hindi
Yes, ma'am.
naka-base sa NSRI. So sana maliwanag sa mga research associate natin. So hindi sa pinagkakaitan kayo ng serbisyo, pero yaan ay batas. Okay? So are there any other question?
Ma'am Ox, idagdag ko lang din po pala.
Sige.
Kasi 'di ba yung sa license po natin, meron na po dong list of chemicals. For example, sa PDEA, meron na po dong list of chemicals kung ano lang po yung mga pwedeng bilhin for PDEA, control chemicals. So ngayon po, kung meron pong bibilhin na wala dun sa license, mukhang paano pag ganun, Adriel?
Bali kung kailangan nyo po nung chemical bali pinakita naman po sa slides ni Ate Christine yung mga list ng chemicals na
Kailangan
controlled
pang
on either PNP o PDEA, yun. Ngayon po, if nakita nyo po na wala po dun sa current, actually, meron naman pong kopya ng licenses natin, yung property section. So, alam rin po nila, ni Ate Del yun na kung ano yung wala. Ngayon, kung wala po yun dun sa list na meron sa kopya ni Ate Del, bali inform nyo na lang po kami beforehand para ma-process po namin yung amendment ng mga license na yun. Kasi actually, medyo tedious po talaga yung yung sobrang tedious niya talaga kung paano siya ayusin. So mas maganda po na unang sa early phase of your procurement pa lang po, check nyo na po kung meron po sa mga chemicals na gagamitin ninyo yung controlled po ng regulating bodies. Since yun po, kaya project nyo rin po yung madedelay if ever man delay yung delivery kasi ayaw payagan ng regulating bodies na magkaroon ng
I think siguro we can request kapag may cycle na naman ng submission of project, no? 'Di ba baka September 2021 'yan. Meron sigurong note doon kung pwedeng i-request natin kay Sir Tux na i-identify na ng project leader kung ano yung kanilang mga chemicals para hindi nahihirapan yung URA. Kasi the one who prepares the project proposal, pati yung methods niyan. So, ang may call ay ang project leader. So, kung hindi pala pwede, baka they can revise their methods such that they will not use chemicals that could not be purchased because of the regulation. Siguro, Sir Alvin, baka pwedeng isuggest natin yun pag doon sa submission of proposal. So, pwede kayang magbigay na lang ng list sila Christine and Adriel sa chemicals that can be purchased by NSRI. No? Siguro in the future yan. No?
Send ko na lang po sa inyo.
Kay Des siguro kasi lahat ng proposal na pumupunta kay Des. Tapos nire-review din namin lahat ng proposal ng mga nasa PPMP nila kung merong control chemicals, sinasubmit din namin sa mga project leader na hindi pwede yung ganun.
Siguro as committee magsulat tayo na para may basihan yung kung bakit kailangang i-review nila yung methods nila for their proposed project. No? Yun, sige. Thank you. So kung wala na, sana nagno-notes kayo kasi may quiz po tayo mamayang 1 o'clock na. isi-send ni Christine, no? So the next one,
May
ito ay
question may question doon sa chat.
ano yon? Regarding po sa record keeping po ng consumption of regulated chemicals, may standard form po ba na need fill up ang RA to monitor yung use, no? Alam ko meron yan na binibigay sa section. So, paano yung mga project-based? Adriel and Christine?
Ganito po yun. Regarding sa PNP po, kung may ginagamit po kayo nitric acid, potassium permanganate, or any nitrates po, inform nyo na po kami beforehand. Kasi as far as I know po, yung nitric acid po is majority na sa RASL lang. Kaya po, ang PDEA po, nag-iikot po, nagbibigay po kami ng form ng PDEA sa any labs. Bali, yun sa MRSL, kay Kuya Jun ata ako binigay yun since siya yung ginagamit yung acetone panlinis ng solvent.
Yes,
Tapos
yes.
yung
Meron kami nun.
sa BRSL po na kay Ate Rocky. Tapos yung sa DAL po kay Kuya Paul. Check nyo na lang po sa kanila yung mga forms na naabot ko na before. Bali yun pa rin po yung form na ginagamit namin. Tapos kinokulate po namin yun for if magsasubmit na po kami ng SAR, semi-annual report. Yun po. If yung mga chemical lang naman po na controlled ng PDEA. Actually, yung HCl po is very common. So I'm pretty sure na meron kayong hydrochloric acid sa nagagamitin. So, kailangan nyo rin pong ma-check yung kung paano nyo siya kino-consume. Medyo malinaw na po ba?
Oh, yes daw. Oo, na-answer naman.
Okay po, thank you.
Merong baka pwede magsalita si Verge. Ano yung addition ni Verge? Verge?
Alam ko sira po yung mic ni Kuya Virgil. Bali ako na lang po yung magsalita nito.
Sige, Adrian.
Bali, nagkaroon rin po pala kayo ng purchases na may kinalaman sa PNP or PDEA regulated chemicals. Bali, inform nyo na rin po kami regarding sa date of delivery, item name, lot number, supplier, and yung nga po, copy ng DR. Inclusive po sa DR yung SI din po, tsaka yung PO. Bali, tatlo po yun. DR, PO, tsaka SI. Bali, sinasubmit po yun sa regulating body along with the report po nung successful transaction natin in related to that chemical. Keep also details of text specs such as volume and weight. Ayun nga po. Yung volume po, obvious naman po, nakalagay naman na po yun sa bote. Kasi na-record din po natin kung gaano kadami yung quantity na natatanggap natin. Ayun po, sana po malinaw.
Okay. So, can we move forward?
Okay na po.
Okay, thank you.
Okay na. Okay, so punta na tayo dito sa sanctions for violators. Yan. So ano-ano yung mga possible violations na pwede nating magawa? Pwedeng magawa while working here at the NSRI. So first, failure to attend this seminar. Okay, so yung mga naka-attend na before at meron ng certificates, pwede nang hindi mag-attend. Pero pwede pa rin mag-refresher, okay, if you want. Okay, ang sanction, pag hindi naka-attend, no certificate of attendance will be issued, which will mean that wala kayong clearance to work at the institute. Okay? So the guard on duty, meron silang list of authorized persons who will be allowed to work at the NSRI. Yeah. Pero for now, since webinar yung ginawa natin, meron din tayong quiz after. Yung mga hindi makakapag-submit ng quiz, walang certificate of attendance. Okay? So, another violation, we have unlabeled chemicals or chemical wastes, dumping of chemicals or waste into the laboratory sink, release of toxic vapors, okay? Yun yung pag hindi gumagamit ng fume hood, pag nag-handle ng acids o kaya mga organic solvents, and transfer, ito yun, of chemical waste from other buildings. So yung sanctions for violation numbers 2 to 5 will be restrictions of laboratory use or loss of laboratory privileges. Collection of chemical waste will be denied. And kapag natapos yung project or pag magre-resign, madedelay yung issuance or signing ng clearance para sa mga URAS. Okay? So, sino-sino yung mga possible violators? This is students, URAS, project-based assistants, ayan, even project leaders or researchers. Everyone who are using NSRI rooms and facilities can be violators. Okay, aside from that, meron din tayong random inspection of laboratories. So we will check na yung mga nasa loob or ng laboratory are only the authorized personnel. Okay? That merong safety facilities like first aid kit or eye wash, and yung meron ding separate storage space for laboratory waste. So hiwalay yung space for waste from the unused chemicals. And lastly, unlabeled chemicals or wastes. So we have here a few last-minute reminders. Okay, please be responsible always. You are there in your respective laboratory rooms working on your thesis or research project with the ultimate goal to come up with a successful result. Next, you are accountable for every drop of chemicals, whether product, byproducts, or waste that you throw directly into the drain. It may be harmful to our environment. We should be aware that we are here not just to work, but to take care of our environment. And lastly, guide our waste collector. And to do that, we should take note of the mixture we generate in the laboratory, label our chemicals, so that we can guide our collector and authorized waste treater on how to treat and dispose these chemicals. So yun lang po. Maraming salamat.
Okay, maraming salamat, Adriel. Maraming salamat, Christine. At siyempre, last but not the least ay si Engineer Alvin Malyari who will speak on fire safety, ang apoy. Yan.
Tin,
Wait lang
yung slide.
po. Yes po. Yan, okay na? Ayan.
First slide muna. Okay, sige. Magandang umaga. Alvin Malyari po ng Property Section. We'll be discussing about electrical and fire safety. So, by definition, electricity is the present and flow of electric charge, or it is the movement and interaction of electrons. Pero sa layman's term, it is the energy to use to run household appliance, lab and office equipment, and other industrial machinery. So, nagpo-produce yan ng lights, sounds, tsaka init. Next slide, please. 10. Yan. Factors to be considered when talking about electricity. One is current. This is the movement of electrical charge. Voltage, the measure of electrical force. Circuit, the complete path of flow of current. And yung tinatawag na ground, the physical electrical connection sa earth. Okay. Idinagdag namin tong electricity kasi may hazard siya. So, electricity is dangerous. Pwedeng ma-injure, pwedeng magkaroon ng shock, falls, or even death. Next slide, please. Electric shock. By definition, electric shock is the sensation or trauma caused by the passage of electric current sa katawan ng isang tao. So, ang body resistance pag dry is approximately 500 kilo ohms. Pero pag basa tayo, 300 ohms lang to. So yung resistance pag basa, yung katawan ng tao is masyadong mababa. So meron ding high voltage or low current. This refers to the electric shock which tend to knock the victims away from the circuit. So, ito yung mga nakikita nating outlet doon sa mga bahay, sa mga dwelling units, sa laboratory. Yung common dyan, sinasaksakan ng aircon, sinasaksakan ng mga computer. Next is yung high current. Balik po. Yung high current tends the body to adhere to the circuit. Nakikita po natin to sa mga high tension wire, transmission lines, generating power plants, at saka yung mga substation like Meralco. Next. Next please. Ito isang example ng line to ground fault. Kung makikita nyo dyan, yung may broken terminal yung electric drill. So, possible dyan, since line to ground fault, hawak ng isang tao or makokonek yung body ng tao. Nakikita nyo rin dyan, connected yung daliri niya doon sa grounded surface. So, merong electric shock na possible na mangyari sa kanya. Next slide, please. Ito yung possible pathway ng kuryente sa katawan ng tao. Yung hand to hand, foot to foot, or hand to foot. No? Papakita ko yung susunod na slides kung gaano kadelikado yung passage ng electric current sa katawan ng tao. Next slide, please. Yan. Makikita nyo dyan, yung electric shock versus body sensation at saka yung current flow sa katawan ng tao. Take note, 0.1 ampere to 1 ampere. Pwede ka nang mamatay or severe burns. Breathing stop. So, 0.1 to 1 ampere lang. So, ganun siya kadelikado. Lalo na kung dadaan siya sa puso. Okay? So, ganyang kaliit lang. Sa 0.02, mild sensation lang. Para ka lang kinikiliti. Pero once na pumasok siya sa 0.1 at pataas, masyado ng delikado. Isang example ko dyan. Halimbawa, ang aircon, ang rated current niya na 2 horsepower is 12 amperes. So, 12 amperes compared dito sa 0.1. Kung sa 0.1, pwede ka nang mamatay. What more kung sa 12 amperes? Next slide, please. So, yung danger depends on yung amount ng current, syempre. Tapos yung time or duration of the current na dumaan sa katawan natin. At yung path. Kung hindi naman siya dadaan sa puso, medyo may pag-asa pa. Once na dumaan sa puso yung shock o yung electric current, medyo may pagkakalagyan po tayo. No? Kaya mag-ingat sa paggamit ng kuryente, hindi siya nagbibiro. Tulad ng next slide. Hello. Isa pa? Walang nakita tin? Yan. Yan ay isang magnanakaw ng tanso. Okay, makikita nyo sa ibaba, maliliit lang yung tao. Pero tingnan nyo, high tension yan, nasa ibabaw siya ng transformer. So, tawag dito, nasunog na siya. So, para na siyang nilitsyon. Next. Isa pa. So, ito yung isang ninanakawan nila. Next, please. Ayun, sunog din yung isa. Okay? So, yung nakita yung figure na 1, 2, at saka 3, yan ay mga, yung una, galing sa transmission line. Itong isa, at saka yung pangalawa, at saka yung pangatlo, galing to sa substation. So, kita nyo naman, nasunog yung katawan ng tao. Tapos, wag natin bibiruin yung kuryente. So, nagagamit natin in a useful way, pero since merong danger, may hazard sa electricity, pag-ingat tayo sa paggamit. Next slide, please. Next slide. So, causes of electrical accident. So, I summarize the causes into 3 categories. Una, unsafe acts. Pangalawa, unsafe equipment. Sa unsafe acts, pwedeng carelessness, maling paggamit, o kaya yung mga nagmamadali. Halimbawa, yung example kanina ni Ma'am Oxy, yung iniwang percolator. No? Carelessness yan. Iniwan niya, hindi niya binantayan hanggang sa maubos yung tubig do sa percolator. Buti na lang naagapan namin, di nasunog ang NSRI. Next, yung unsafe equipment. So, posible yung isang cause ng electrical accident ay yung mga loose connections sa isang electrical equipment. Pwedeng unguarded live parts, open pala yung likod ng equipment nyo, or wala siyang improper grounding, merong mali sa insulation, or loose connection. At yung pangatlo, next slide please. Next slide please. Ito yung mga common electrical usage causing danger o yung mga napapractice natin na napapabayaan. Tulad nito, panel box cover or doors not accessible. May pinakitang picture kanina si Dr. Sheringan, which is yung panel board, nakalagay doon cutout switch. So dapat yon palaging accessible kasi in case of emergency, yun ang unang shutdown. Okay? Tapos pangalawa, extension cords under the rugs. Bakit? Kasi nagpo-produce ng init yan. Since yung rugs is pwede siya under na masunog. Kasi tela lang yan. Pag nag-init yung wire. Bare wires, using different size and ampacity of wire. Yung ampacity, it is the current carrying capacity ng wire. Sa mga wiring po, hindi sila pwedeng pagsamahin yung magkakaiba yung size. Okay? Tapos, unguarded outlet. Kung basag na yung outlet, wag na po siyang gamitin. Bypassing of fuse. Ito yung ginagawa ng mga electrician na hindi na natutulak sa tabi-tabi. At yung last, yung octopus connection. Next, please. Next slide. Yan ay example ng octopus connection. So, sa isang electrical cord, ang daming nakasaksak. Gumamit pa sila ng adapter para mag-multiply yung saksakan nila. Pero kung titignan nyo dyan sa picture, yung main extension wire or extension cord is manipis lang. Okay, next slide please. So, just sa picture, makikita nyo yung different sizes of wire. So, may kanya-kanya silang ampacity. Like yung number 10 o yung 10 American wire gauge na merong ampere rating na 30 amperes. Hindi mo siya pwedeng gamitin bilang wire kung halimbawa 90 amperes yung circuit mo. So, bawat design sa electrical circuit dapat magma-match ang wire mo per disconnect at saka load. No? Kaya nga sa electrical design, palagi kaming nagde-design na up to 80% lang ng rated current para sa safety ng isang sirkito. Hindi namin sinasagad up to 100%. Kasi merong mga tinatawag kaming inrush current o yung mga fluctuations na umaabot na more than the rating ng isang equipment or ng isang wire. No? Hindi rin pwede na meron kang equipment na let's say aircon. Tapos sinaksak mo na lang kung saan-saan without thinking or without knowing yung ampacity or yung rated current ng outlet. So pwede kayong masunog doon. Okay? Next slide. So take care when using electricity. It has the power to kill. Sabi nga, hazard, pwedeng makamatay. Next slide. Be electrically safe than sorry. Tandaan po natin, pare-parehas tayo nagtatrabaho sa environment o sa laboratory na maraming chemicals. Meron silang binanggit kanina na yung mga incompatible chemicals hindi pwedeng pagsamasamahin. Dahil alam naman po natin siguro na 3 component lang o 3 factor na pwede na magkasunog. Ito yung heat, oxygen, at saka yung fuel. Kasi pag nagpabaya tayo, next slide please. Pwede tayong may sumabog, then sunod nun is sunog. Okay? Pare-parehas naman tayo magtatrabaho dito. Parehas tayong mawawalan ng trabaho. Then, punta tayo doon sa classes of fire. So, sa NSRI, actually maraming classes of fire, pero i-discuss ko na lang is 3. Okay? Nirelate ko to doon sa fire extinguisher na available dyan sa NSRI. Una, Class A fire. So, isipin nyo na lang yung ASES. Also known as ordinary fire or inner fire. Ito ay yung apoy na pumapailalim. So, sa ilalim nanggagaling yung init. So, ito pwedeng manggaling sa burning vapor, sa kahoy, plastic, o yung mga rags, o yung mga tela. Next. Next slide, please. Yung class B, or tank barrel. Ito naman yung apoy na pumaibabaw. So, ano ang mga to? Involves flammable or combustible liquids such as gasoline, kerosene, or solvent. So, surface pa rin tawag doon. At yung pangatlo is class C. Next slide, please. Class C. Think of the circuit. It involves energized electrical equipment. Okay, since I am an electrical engineer, magpo-focus tayo dyan sa electrical fire. Next slide. Electrical fire, it usually starts with an insulation failure causing the short circuit and ends with fire. Okay? So, insulation failure. Tapos nagkakaroon ng short circuit. Then, mag-iinit, susunod nun, fire. So, what are the causes of electrical fire? Next slide, please. So, yan. Kasama sa quiz kanina, yung overload. So, causes of electrical fire. 1, overload, insulation failure, contact failure, and contactor fracture. Isa-isayin natin. Number 1. Next slide, please. Overload. Ito, swerte nung nakasagot kanina. Results in excessive current that develops heat due to defect in insulation, unauthorized expansion of electrical insulation or loads, and inappropriate rating of wires. So, kung dyan sa drawing, makikita nyo isang outlet lang. So, ang best example nito is yung octopus connection. Meron kang isang extension wire, multiple yung pinagsasaksak mo doon without thinking na mataas pala yung load demand ng bawat equipment. So, pwedeng magkaroon ng overload. Next. Yung insulation failure. This may result from deterioration due to normal aging process, thermal degradation, moisture, voltage stress, abrasion due to improper mechanical protection, mechanical vibration, or environmental effects. Kasama na yung mga mababait na tulad ng daga na pumapasok sa mga kasulok-sulukan. Hindi ko alam kung bakit gusto nilang pumasok sa mga panel box. Next slide, please. Ayun, may daga. Nakadikit doon sa mga open wire o live terminal. Yung susunod na causes of electrical fire, next slide please. Yan. Contact failure. Kadalasan ito nakikita sa mga industrial plant. Kasi sa ating laboratory, kadalasan ang mga lab equipment ay may protection na sila na hindi na sila gumagamit ng electromagnetic contactor. Kadalasan, solid state relay na, yung contactless. Kung makikita nyo sa picture, yung first picture po ay yung maganda. So, pakipindot na po. Then, so, dyan, makikita yung sa pangalawa, medyo tunaw na yung yung contact points. Pag natutunaw yung contact points, nagkakaroon ng high resistance, kakaroon din ng init, pagkatapos niyan, hotspot. Magbabaga po yan then pwedeng magkaroon ng electrical fire. Next. Conductor fracture. This excessive vibration, flexing of wires and connectors, kasama yung thermal stress due to alternate heating and cooling, at saka yung metal fatigue. Hanggang sa masira o maputol yung wire, pero kasi dyan sa conductor fracture, masyadong maliit yung magiging gap. Kung naputol man yung wire, pwede pa rin tumalon yung kuryente. So, pag ganon, mag-iinit yun, then pwede magkaroon din ng electrical fire. And since pinag-usapan natin lahat itong mga hazard, let's go to safety and protection. Next slide, please. Safety and protection. First, recognize yung hazard. Pangalawa, evaluate mo ito. Then, control. So, paano mo i-recognize yung hazard? Siyempre, by visual inspection, makikita mo naman siguro kung merong nabalatan na yung wire ng isang equipment mo. Or merong exposed na electrical parts. Or pwedeng, yung sabi nga ni Dr. Siringen kanina, yung co-workers mo na maharot, pwedeng siyang hazard. Pag na-evaluate mo na, at na-identify mo na kung ano yung mga hazard, pwede mo na siyang kontrolin. Especially sa mga electrical fixture or equipment, dapat i-repair. Dapat i-isolate na or palitan yung dapat palitan, especially yung mga outlet na naka-expose, lagyan ng covers. Okay? So, do not ignore signs of trouble para hindi tayo ma-aksidente pag nagtatrabaho tayo sa ating opisina or sa ating workstation. Next. Fire extinguisher. Ito lang yung acronym ng paggamit ng fire extinguisher. Wala akong fire extinguisher kasi dito, so hindi natin madedemo. Ang fire extinguisher ay meron siyang pin. So, i-pull mo lang yon. Kusa siyang sasama, madali lang naman siyang i-pull. I-squeeze mo yung lever niya, then sweep. Para ka lang nagwawalis, papunta do sa base ng apoy. Maliban sa fire extinguisher, sa NSRI, meron din tayong emergency fire hose na strategically located sa NSRI. Okay? Yung iba, malapit doon sa emergency shower. Okay? Meron tayong 2 sa first floor. Meron tayong 3 sa basement. Next is meron tayong circuit breakers. Dali lang po. Pabalik po. Yun, meron tayong circuit breakers and cutout switch. Just in case magkaroon ng overloading, short circuit, ang mga circuit breakers natin or cutout switch ay kusang mag-shut off. Nung bagong rewiring ang ating building. So maganda ang pagkakaano ngayon ng electrical wiring ng NSRI. Katulad ng nangyari sa admin, merong pumutok to sa isang cubicle, nag-shutdown yung entire circuit, protecting yung ibang equipment. So, isa lang atang set of computer ang nasira. At meron din tayong tinatawag na instrument transformers, kadalasan to ginagamit sa mga manufacturing company. Relays, ganun din. Yung grounding at saka yung GFCI or ground fault current interrupter. Yung grounding, kung makikita nyo, kung nakabili kayo ng microwave oven, meron tong kasama palagi na kulay green na wire. Wag nyo pong tatanggalin yon kasi yon wire na yon is intended for grounding. Okay? So ilagay lang, i-connect lang to sa, halimbawa sa tubo ng tubig, kung metal yung tubo ng tubig nyo, or magbaon ng rod sa lupa, doon nyo i-connect. Malaki pong tulong ang grounding wire. Bakit? Just in case na magkaroon ng line to ground fault, kahit nakadikit ang isang live wire sa body ng isang equipment, hindi po kayo makukuryente or wala kayong sensation na mararamdaman. Dahil diretso yung electric current o yung shock papunta sa lupa. So, safe po yung end user. Next. Next po. Yan, tingnan nyo. Yun, huwag niyong gagayahin yon. Mali po yung paggamit nun. No? Sabi niya kanina, dapat pass, pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the lever, at saka sweep. Side to side motion. Hindi ganyan. Next slide, please. Ito po yung color coding ng ibang fire extinguisher. Pero ang fire extinguisher na available or ginagamit natin sa NSRI is for fire A, B, and C. So kaya kulay pula siya. So sakop na yung class A, B, at saka class C fire. Okay? Meron pang iba dyan, kulay silver. Yung iba, kitchen fire. Pero hindi ko na sinama. Yung ginagamit lang natin sa NSRI, yung isinama ko. Next. Next slide. For safety and protection, always inspect electrical cords and plug on a regular basis and replace or repair the damaged cord. So, pag may nakita po kayong damage, ipa-repair niyo po agad. Use available safety devices in the market. Wag po yung substandard. When wiring or installing new equipment, make sure it meets requirements for safe operation o ito yung tinatawag na rated capacity ng isang equipment. Sabi nga ni Dr. Sheringan kanina, extension cord are intended for temporary use lang. Hindi siya permanent. Siyempre, dapat may proper PPE tayo at saka yung fire exit drill dapat regular na ginagawa. Kaya lang, may pandemic, hindi nating magawa sa ngayon. Next. Another way then is to affix voltage rating to each equipment and outlet. Noong mag-rewire ang NSRI, pinatanggal na namin lahat ng 110 volts na circuit kasi ang daming nagkakamali. Meron namang ABR or UPS na may available na 110. Ang kaisa-isang section na may 110 ngayon sa NSRI ay yung DNA laboratory natin dahil mayroon silang step-down transformer. Ito, do not attempt to repair or install equipment kung hindi po kayo marunong. Tumawag po kayo ng tulong. Ito, do not leave your percolator. Sikat na sikat ang percolator sa NSRI. Okay? Tapos, consult your duly licensed electrical or electrician for additional outlet. Para makita natin kung kakayanin pa ba ng circuit sa NSRI yung parating na equipment nyo or kung itatransfer nyo man, meron bang available outlet kung masyadong mataas naman yung rated power rating ng isang equipment nyo. Let's say, isang malaking autoclave, halimbawa lang. So, kailangan special purpose outlet ang gawin natin para doon sa equipment na yon. So, consult your personnel na marunong sa electrical. Next slide. Next slide, please. Huwag kayong magko-consult dyan, no? Sa dalawang yan. So, palinghado yung dalawang yan. Next. Kung kayo ay nagtatrabaho sa NSRI, ito po yung mga fire exits natin. Ito yung nasa first floor. Okay? So yung mga blue arrow na yan, tinuturo niya kung saan yung mga fire exits. Next po. Para sa basement. Yan naman. Ang RSL at saka yung wing ng BRSL at saka MRSL. Okay? Maraming salamat po. Yun lang, question? Thank you. May question po?
Siguro
Hello?
naman, naging aware na silang lahat. Tignan ko lang, andyan ba si Sir Tooks? Kasi bumalik siya para we can
Dito,
take...
ma'am.
Ayan, sir. Sige. Pwede bang stop share ka muna, Sir Alvin?
Si Tin po.
Si Tin po ang magbibigay ng...
Ayan.
Kung gusto niyo po makasama sa photo op, pwede niyong buksan ng inyong video. Or kung ayaw niyo naman shy type, okay lang po, no? Profile pic niyo na lang. Okay, so Tin?
Ebidensya na umaten.
Oo.
Two shots ito, no?
2 shots,
Kuya
sir.
Chong, wait lang po. Ma'am, hindi ko alam.
Okay.
Sino pwedeng kumuha?
Sige ma'am, screen grab ko na lang po.
Kuya Choi.
Choi?
Wait lang, sige ma'am.
Madaming na shy type. Sydney, ayaw mo bang magpakuha? Sydney. Yan. Pakita na kayo. Sino si Jericho? Ayun. Congratulations. At si Joshua. Jericho, taga saan kang lab?
Dito po sa BRSL.
Okay. RA ka ng project?
Apo, under po kay Ma'am Pia.
Siya ba yung nanalo, ma'am?
Oo,
Siya nanalo, ma'am?
Oo.
Sige, ma'am, sesend ko rin yung number ko sa inyo.
Hindi ka naman nanalo. Si Joshua ay sa DDHP namin. Okay? Give your best smile.
Okay na po ma'am. Na-capture ko na ma'am.
Na-capture na agad, wala.
Okay na.
Okay na. Isa pa ba? Asan si Des at si Anthony ayaw magpakita? Ha?
Dito, ma'am.
Magpakita ka naman. Si Ate V ayaw din.
Okay na ma'am. Na-capture ko
Okay.
na para maayos.
Sige.
Okay.
Maraming salamat. Siguro marami kayong natutunan. So, after this, mag-lunch muna kayo and then check your email at 1 o'clock para po sa Google link para doon sa Google. Ano yun? Bakit may mayroon pong Google form para sa quiz. No? So, make sure i-submit nyo so you will have your certificate of attendance to this webinar. No? And we'll compile the lectures and the measures at identify po sana kung saan kayong lab kasi merong specific na COVID-19 measures for each section na prepared by your lab heads, no, and the staff. Yun ang isi-send sa inyo para lahat kayo ay aware. Okay, at this point, pwede ko sigurong hingan ng short closing remarks si Dr. Estacio.
Ako na naman.
Yes, sir. Sige na, para sulit.
Anyway, opo, as what Ma'am Oxy said, sana ho may natutunan tayo. Anyway, naka-record naman ho ito, so balikan ko na lang yung mga sections na na-miss ko kanina, although I was able to get early parts of Ma'am Oxy's report and then yung latter part nung kay Sir Alvin. So, sana ho hindi lang sa webinar matatapos sa pagsagot sa quizzes yung ating natutunan. The most important thing is we have to put all of this into proper practice po. So with that, maraming salamat and thank you sa mga nag-facilitate, Ma'am Oxy, Tin, Adriel, and si Sir Alvin and si Choi. Thank you. Good morning po sa ating lahat. Salamat.
Have a safe and productive day. Thank you.
Thank you very much po.
Thank you po.
Thank you.